What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the RGS Gold Standard Podcast. My name is Zach Hernandez, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Matt Llewellyn, and our guy, Mike Andrews of Nothing But Niners. We got a great show planned for you guys this Sunday evening, this Labor Day weekend, long weekend. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the show and spending your Sunday evening with us. Before I toss it over to the gang, hit like, hit subscribe. We appreciate everybody for tuning in. You might not think it's much, but it really does matter. If you really want to help, go the extra mile, copy the link, share it to social media, let these algorithms know you're messing with our content, and more people will get recommended the content. Now that I got that entire spiel out, Matt, how you doing this evening?
You know, Zach, I'm enjoying fatherhood, but in terms of 49ers football, I'm rather disappointed. Listen, we're coming into week one, and you still haven't paid the boy. They need to pay Nick Bosa. This is getting ridiculous. People thought the Trey Lance thing was bad, and it was bad. They didn't handle that right. They didn't give the young man his due, whatever. The trade looks terrible. It looks like probably the worst draft day trade the 49ers have ever made. One of the worst in NFL history. Maybe you could argue the Herschel Walker trade is bad. But if they go into week one and Nick Bosa is not on the roster, if I'm waking up Tuesday and he's still not signed, Wednesday he's still not signed, and they go to Pittsburgh and Nick Bosa's not with the team, this is a colossal failure of an offseason for this team. They've been saying for years how they have the money for Nick Bosa, accounted for and done. So the fact that he's not signed yet, it's super disappointing to me, and it's kind of taken away from, the excitement of opening weekend. But, other than that, I'm good.
Yeah, other than this existential doom kind of creeping into the back of my mind that Bosa is not signed. Mike, how you doing this evening?
Yeah, I want to say good jersey choice by Matt. The last show that I did on Nothing But Niners, I also wore a Nick Bosa jersey, trying to show some solidarity for the guy, right? Like, he's earned it. Like, you can't play with this guy. You cannot play with him. The only time he didn't produce is when he was sidelined with an ACL injury. Then he came back and answered well. He should have been comeback of the year, but there was NFL politics involved. And then, so fine, I don't get those votes. I don't win that award. What do I do the following season? Nothing but defensive player of the year. Like, come on, Niners, get your stuff together. Pay this guy so we can go ahead into this season with a little bit more confidence in what we currently have and right now. So I can't wait to break it all down. Family is good. I'm good. Got done celebrating. Well, I can't say done because we still have another day tomorrow, but been celebrating with different family members all weekend, Labor Day weekend, getting together with guys. So I'm excited to talk Niners. I'm excited to get this thing started, and I want to be excited about going into the season, but I'm not going to lie to you guys, man. Not having Nick Bosa could really, really give us some issues. So I'm sure we'll break all that down soon.
It is such a bummer going in. I thought for sure it would have happened by now. Perhaps it's just a matter of fact that the Chris Jones saga has not ended in Kansas City either. I mean, there's a handful of players, defensive players specifically, waiting on a contract, but these are the two main players and the two, at least that I can think off the top of my head, that are holding out for these deals to get done. Kind of these soft deadlines, the 53-man roster, a week before, 2 weeks out from the season, have kind of come and passed, yet no deal has happened. I'll start with Mike. How confident are you that Bosa will be out there week one?
I'm going to stick with the 9.95% that I gave you guys last time on the show. But to be completely honest, man, every day that it doesn't happen, I do get a little bit more worried. I thought the Niners had a perfect opportunity. The Cowboys extended their right tackle today, and I thought the Niners had the best opportunity to completely dump on that, right? Like, that's your right tackle. Well, guess who he's going to be playing against week 5? Nick Bosa. Boom. Here's his deal, right? Like, I really, really thought the Niners had the perfect opportunity to do that. And they didn't take advantage of it. And so I'm going to stick with my 99.5 to answer your original question. But, man, it might come down to like 99.0, like if we don't get him signed tomorrow. Like, I don't know what the holdup is. And like I said, I'm looking forward to trying to break that down and figure out what the hang up is going forward, because there's no logical explanation for any of this. Honestly, there isn't.
Especially, like both of you said, we've been told for years, at least the last year and a half, it's budgeted for. We are fully aware of what he's asking for, and we've calculated it in. And don't even get me started on, this is what they told us, the main benefit of having a rookie quarterback under a rookie salary. You literally could not get, well, I guess maybe if Brock was an undrafted free agent, then he would be on a lesser contract. But as low as you can get for a drafted player, Brock is on that contract. So there's no excuse. There's no quarterback eating up this money. You just traded your most expensive quarterback. Matt, I'm going to ask you the same question. How likely is it to you that Bosa will be out there versus Pittsburgh?
Dude, I'm at a toss-up at this point. I'm 50-50 because you're starting to run into the problem of, like, if he signs too late in the week, do they feel not comfortable running him out there and playing him because he hasn't been in camp? It's one thing to be in really good shape. It's another thing to get out there and take contact and things like that. And we've seen before where these late holdouts come back and all of a sudden they get injured because they haven't been through the camp, running through the rigmarole and the dog days out there and getting after it. I'm sure that, Nick Bosa is going to be in phenomenal shape. He always is. I mean, I don't think that dude has had a carb since like 1948, but at the same time, there's a difference between being in good gym shape and being in good football shape. And that's the thing that you really have to look at as a detriment to letting it go on this far. So I'm like a toss up at this point that he's available for week 1. And to me, even being that far gone on it is a colossal failure for this regime. And it's like, they better win. I'll just say that. I'm not going to say that the seat's hot because it's a results-driven league and they've had the results the last couple of years, but they better win. They better stop messing around because if they have a bunch of injuries and they go 6-10, I don't know that that's enough of an excuse. They've severely mismanaged this franchise over the course of this last offseason.
Yeah. So I thought last offseason was a giant mess. You dedicate everything to Trey. We're rolling with Trey. You keep Jimmy on a side field. You bring Jimmy back because there was no trade options. And it was just kind of a weird situation. This year has been, by an order of magnitude, much worse, in my opinion. You finally cut bait on Trey Lance. You come clean. They get paraded out in front of the media and have to admit it didn't work. You get a fourth, which is higher than I thought they'd get for him, to be honest with you. And then Bosa. This has been happening all offseason, and the fact that the 49ers are still dealing with it less than a week now into when the season begins, I'm with Matt. I'm at like 50-50. I don't know if he gets onto the field much, if at all, if this does happen within the next 6 days, because there's a new defensive coordinator, new scheme. And again, how much different is it for him? Probably not that different, but it's still a matter of you're not up to speed. You don't really know the game plan, so maybe we'll get you in there situationally, pass rush, third downs. But other than that, and is that going to be enough to sabotage the game and possibly cost them a win? It's tough, man. And we've seen the 49ers specifically last year, these slow starts come back to bite them in the ass. They had to go to Philly because of a slow start. I don't think they can afford another slow start. Other teams in the NFC are getting better. You got Philly, you got Dallas, you got Seattle, you got Detroit. I don't know. I don't want to throw out Green Bay because they haven't proven anything yet, but they look good. And I don't think the 49ers can afford a slow start. That's why I'm
I pumped brakes on Jordan Love if I were you.
I'm not sold.
I want to see the real game. That's all I'm saying.
Same. I hear you. Just real quick, Matt, for authority, Kurt Sampson, install happens tomorrow. He is signing tonight. Kurt, if this happens, we will give you full credit.
I don't think nothing's happening till Tuesday because it's a holiday weekend. And while the players might be playing and stuff like that, I don't know if Parag ass is in there doing anything.
How much of this do you guys think is specifically because of Parag and the kind of what he's been known for is the language that is extremely team friendly? Seemed like Kittle kind of got around that a little bit, but Debo had to deal with it, and the other players that they've extended previously had to deal with it to where it's kind of like, okay, I guess I'll let you guys have your cake and eat it too. Do you think that Bosa is just simply saying, I'm not doing that. Give me my fucking money. I'm not dealing with all these ifs, ands, and whats and buts. Just give me my money.
I think so. I mean, it's a history with this family with offset language in their rookie deals. And, I know Mike and myself have alluded to this before. And here's the other thing that people listen, they got 5 games of eyes on Jimmy Garoppolo, and they gave his ass $137.5 million. Now, Nick Bosa looking at it like, you guys had me for how many years of production, of serious production? I'm winning Defensive Player of the Year. I'm winning Defensive Rookie of the Year. I'm going through all this. I had a hell of a season after an ACL tear. I'm coming back. I'm doing all this stuff. You gave that dude 137.5, and then you replaced him, and then you replaced the replacement, and y'all can't give me my money? Like, of course he's he's got them over a barrel because this regime is screwed. If anything happens with Nick Bosa and they're not able to keep him, to where he gets out on the field, they have to either trade him or he walks or whatever. It's going to be terrible for this team, for this regime. He brings a fire to the defense and a stability at the pass rush position that all the rest of the defense feeds off of. If he's not playing, I guarantee you we're going to see a slide in the ability of this defense. It's not going to be the number one defense without him. And so at that point, he knows that he's got the team, by the short and curlies, if you know what I mean. And it's just, they need to pay him. None of this cute Parag crap that they always try to get away with. He wants to work his Parag magic. They've been saying again for years, oh yeah, he's accounted for, which to me looks more like they were kicking the can down the road until they had to deal with it at this point. But it's nut cutting time, and they better get him in the building. Otherwise, the fan base is going to be pissed. I know that certain creators out there like Rob Stats Guerrero is saying, watch the fan base turn on Nick Bosa. I don't think so, man. Everybody was on board with paying Deebo Samuel until he started acting out and doing all that crazy stuff. And then there were still people that were on board with that. Right. And then as soon as he signed and played, all was apparently forgiven. So I don't think that the fan base is on board with this, particularly after the Trey, the black eye from the Trey Lance situation. This regime is running out of grace with the fan base real quick. We already got people out there haphazardly throwing around that they would rather have Deion Sanders be the coach here than Kyle Shanahan, which is crazy talk. But that type of stuff is going to continue the more and more they screw this whole thing up. They have a Super Bowl roster that's ready to win now, and it seems like they're playing with their food. It's completely ridiculous.
So we have this tweet here from Grant. It says Nick Bosa has to decide if he wants to play for a Super Bowl contender or be the highest paid non-quarterback in the league. If he wants the latter, the 49ers could trade him to the Texans and they can give him his money. I mean, I get it. But
Grant's wrong. Grant's wrong.
Look at the response to the first comment, though.
Here, let me bring it back up.
Someone was like, "Oh, I was with you on the
zoom in on this back. Can you zoom in on it a little bit?"
Yeah, can you zoom in? There you go. How long will his body hold up? Like, come on, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So okay, like I was saying, no, Grant. So both he can be both here. He can play for a Super Bowl contender and be the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL here. They've been saying all along they knew what it was going to cost, they knew what it was going to take, and there's no mistake about it that he needs to be the highest paid defensive player in the NFL, right? There's two little boxes that you can put him in: highest paid pass rusher or highest paid defensive lineman. Either way, he should be either number one or number two, okay? Number one defensive lineman, non-quarterback, is Aaron Darnold, all right? That's number one. He's $31.7 million a year, okay? If it's going to be the highest paid pass rusher, it's TJ Watt, who just signed his deal, and he's at like $28 million. All right. The Niners have no excuse to not get this executed and pulled off in time for him to get here. The one theory that I don't know if it's holding any credence, because I feel like you can manipulate this if you wanted to, was if he lives in Florida for more than 180 days, his signing bonus is taxed based off of Florida versus California. But like, just fucking say you were living in California. I mean, in Florida, like you don't need to stay away from the team. Like, let some or maybe because there's so many eyes on him, he literally can't show face in California. I don't know. I don't know what the count is or whatever. But Grant is wrong on this one. He doesn't have to choose between the two. He should be both. He should be playing for a Super Bowl contender in the 49ers, and he should be the highest paid non-defensive player. I haven't seen any of the jersey swap pictures being liked on his social media accounts. I haven't seen him scrub his social media accounts of anything 49ers related and all that BS that you saw Deebo Samuel doing and all that during the negotiations. I haven't seen any of that. I don't know a single 49ers fan that has been against the signing and extension of Nick Bosa. Yes. So there's no need for me to believe that anyone is blaming him or his team for what's happening right now. This is all on the 49ers. John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, whoever it is, Parag, get your act together. Get this guy in camp immediately. We are cutting it way too close.
Agreed.
Yeah. And we have precedent, by the way, of people who went about their business and handled it correctly with the George Kittle and the Fred Warner extensions. They just didn't drag out this long. So we know that the fan base supported. I mean, hashtag pay George Kittle was like huge. Hashtag pay Fred Warner was also huge. So they need to get it done. I don't know what's happening with Grant. I think this offseason has just been real rough on the man. So it is what it is. But that whole is the body going to hold up thing is kind of wild to me. I don't get it. But yeah, the fact of the matter is he needs to be the highest paid defensive player.
Yeah.
Aaron Donald, like you said, I think it's 31.6 something. 32, 33, whatever it's going to take at that point. Just pay the man. And the reports are that they're like $4 million apart. And to me, I'm like, just give him the fucking $4 million. Like, don't even meet in the middle. Just give him $4 million, man.
Albert Breer posted that nonsense and then was like, "Oh, let me clarify what I'm saying. I'm saying that there's a $4 million difference between Watt and Donald. I'm not saying that there's a $4 million difference in the negotiation. Like, dude, you posted what you posted for the reactions. You got the reactions, an overwhelming amount, and then people came for you, and then you were like, "Oh, let me walk it back. Let me stop what I'm saying." But here's what I will say: you are not going to get a Bosa signed with verbiage loopholes. It's not going to happen. They are notorious for getting the language in a contract right. A rookie contract is fully guaranteed, and he still held out to get the language right. What the hell made the Niners think that they were going to do something with the language in this kind of deal? He's finally eligible for an extension, and he's coming off of Defensive Player of the Year. All the language goes out the window. What do you want? How do we make it happen? And let's do this. And now we can, this much is a bonus. This much will be workout incentives. This much will be your annual salary, period. There's 3 things you need to worry about, and they need to make it happen. This is all on the Niners. No one is looking anywhere right now. Kyle and John are under more scrutiny than they've been since they've been hired. This is the hot seat for them. And if they screw this up, the hot seat isn't going anywhere at all. This is solely on them. They've got to get it right.
Let's get this super chat from our guy Gray Fox 198. He says, "Hey fellas, hypothetically speaking, let's say contract negotiations with Bosa completely break down. What would be the trade haul we could get for him? 2 firsts and a player? Keep up the great work." 2 firsts, in my opinion, would probably be the most. But I don't know. I don't know. Mike, you seem both of you guys are shaking your head. What do you think? I'm trying to think of recent trades of this magnitude.
Dude, hold on. It's going to be way more than that, okay? Way more than 2 first rounders. Jamal fucking Adams got 2 first rounders, a third rounder, and Bradley McDougald.
That's true. Okay. Yeah, you're right.
That's for Jamal Adams, a box safety. Nick Bosa will get significantly more than that. We're looking at like 3 firsts and a player at the very least.
And the scary thing is, I don't want the Niners to trade that for him because they don't know.
Not. They draft shitty in the first round.
Yeah. Right. Give me 12 fourth-round picks, and I'll be happy. Yeah. Do not give me 3, 4 first-round picks. The Niners are just going to blow them. Yeah. They're going to completely blow them. I don't want them. Of the history of this team in first-round picks, 1.5 have worked out. And I'm only saying a half because I don't even know if they're going to extend Ayuk. Kinlaw has not worked out. Solomon Thomas didn't work out. Mike McGlinchey didn't work out. You got Nick Bosa, and your possible is Brandon Ayuk. That is it. That is it. Don't give them a first round. Don't give them a high second-round pick. I don't want that. They don't know what to do with those kind of picks. I don't know if they feel the pressure. Oh, they outsmart themselves when picking these guys or whatever it is. Don't give me that. Now, what could they get? Easily 3 first-round picks. Easily. I'm saying easily. They can get easily 3 first-round picks for Nick Bosa. This is a young man entering. He's not there yet. He's got 2 more years before he's into his physical prime. He doesn't have the old man strength yet that they talk about when you turn 28 years old. He's not there yet. He's not there. He's going to get stronger. He can get faster, and he can still get better with his technique. Yeah. There's no way they don't get at least 3 first-round picks for him. So
go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're good.
2 things I want to talk about. One, and you touched on it there. Both of you guys touched on it. This is what cracks me up when people are like, if the 49ers had those 2 first-round picks they traded for Trey Lance, we would have been one of the last 2 Super Bowls. Why? So they could get another Solomon Thomas and Reuben Foster or Javon Kent. Like, it's like their ability to draft in the first round has not really panned out. Nick Bosa fell into their laps, and it seems like they hit the nail on the head with Brandon Ayuk to trade back up to get him. But other than that, all of their first-round picks have not worked out. And Mark, I think you said it right now. None of them have had a second contract as of yet. Second thing, Matt, you touched on this earlier. There's a huge difference between how Deebo Samuel went about his contract negotiations and extension last season and how Bosa has gone about this. And I'm just bringing this up because I've seen a ton of my mutuals on Twitter alluding to race, that this is a race factor and how the fans view either player. Maybe some of that is. But I think it's very clear to me it's specifically because one was done in public and the other has been done in private. We don't have videos of Nick Bosa in a club saying this when signs are saying extend, go to the Niners or whatever the hell the sign said. We don't have Bosa liking jersey swaps of him as a Seahawk or as a Cowboy or whatever other teams are out there. We don't have any of this shit. We haven't, as a matter of fact, we don't have anything. We don't have anything from Nick Bosa. He's been silent. And that's the reason why there's a difference here. And if anything, with what kind of was leaked, and I'm assuming it was leaked by the 49ers this past week as to how far they are and they're looking to get a deal done, but it's tough and this and that. Some fans are starting to turn on Bosa now and say, oh, I can't believe he's being selfish, yada, yada, yada. I think that there's a clear reason why there's a difference. And one was held in public. The others was held in private. I don't know if you guys have anything to add to that, but I just need to get that out there because it's been really on my mind for the past 4 or 5 days.
I'm sorry. Did you say that this was possibly race related? Is that
I've seen some people saying that the way both players were treated is race related.
As in Nick Bosa's getting a pass and not getting criticized because he's white, as opposed to Deebo, who was criticized. There are some people saying that. And I think it was definitely the approach rather than that stuff.
Let me be 100% transparent. As a black guy, I was anti-Deebo the moment he liked the jersey swap picture of him in a Cowboys jersey. Let me be clear with what I'm talking about. Yes. The whole going out to breakfast with McDaniel in Florida, right? Cool. Your former offensive coordinator. You guys got a relationship. I see that. Play your cards right. That's negotiating in the public. I get that, right? But you're holding up, hey, Deebo, come back to San Francisco and you're doing this. Cool. Slight strike. I don't even count that as a full strike. That's a half a strike. I'm not here for that. There's a million ways we can spin this. I'm not here for that. I'm out having a good time. I'm not talking about coming back to the 49ers. When you, the player, or someone on your social media team likes you in a Cowboys jersey, the only thing that could have maybe possibly sort of been worse is a Seahawks jersey. Like, the Niners don't have many rival teams. We don't have many rival teams. We haven't been part of the NFC West with the Seahawks and all that stuff long enough for that to even be as long as the hatred between the Niners and the Cowboys. But for someone on your squad to like the Cowboys jersey swap while you're under contract for this team and in the midst of negotiations, no, absolutely not. That tells me that you and your young ass team doesn't understand how much the hatred is between those two clubs. Raiders, Cowboys, Seahawks. Those are the three teams right now that get the most. Exactly what Zach just did, right? Those are the three teams. Bosa hasn't done any of that. It's not because he's white. It's not because Nick Bosa is white. It's not because Deebo Samuel's black or any of that nonsense. It's because they are going about things very, very differently. The Bosa family is 100% business. They are literally bred. I hate saying that because it makes them sound like horses or some shit, right? But like their father, the brothers, they are literally bred for this. This is what they were built to do. They came out the womb with helmets on. Like, this is what you're going to do. You're going to be great at this. And here he is, the best at his position. You got to freaking pay him. It's not black or white or anything in between. Cut that nonsense out. Don't be a race baiter. You want to do that kind of stuff, like go to politics or something. I don't know. Or move it back to the quarterback, Mark. But it's not this. This isn't it. This is not it, guys. Sorry.
I agree. And thank you for saying that, Mike, because it's been frustrating. It's been extremely frustrating seeing this stuff. And sometimes it's not even worth it entertaining, but I just need to get it out because this is like the only platform that I actually have to voice my thoughts so I can get full context around there and people not come at me and say that I'm racist or something for defending Nick Bosa. All right, Matt, is there anything else you want to talk about on this Bosa subject, or should we move into the 53-man roster?
I just think that when you look at what the 49ers have done in the past, and I brought up the Jimmy Garoppolo deal, and you got to bring up somebody like D Ford, who's going to be the 49ers' 6th highest cap hit this season still. You guys have no problem paying those guys. You have no problem. You didn't have a problem paying George Kittle. You didn't have a problem paying Fred Warner. The minute you can't sprinkle your little team-friendly dust on it, you don't want to pay a guy who has contributed more than just about any of those guys. And let me be clear, I think that Nick Bosa has been a more vital part of this team than George Kittle has. You could argue for Fred Warner. But even then, I think that the defense begins and ends with this defense in particular, begins and ends with a strong pass rush. Because I've seen Fred Warner make some boneheaded plays in coverage. All right. He's a sure tackler. He has good sideline to sideline speed. But Nick Bosa, outside of Trent Williams, which is also, an argument to be had, is the best player on this team. And it's not even close. It's Trent Williams and Nick Bosa like neck and neck, and everybody else is a step below. You have no problem paying those other guys. But now, when the most important player on your defense is up for money, and you can't swindle him like you've swindled some other players, or you can't work that little team-friendly magic that you've worked with other players, now you don't want to pay him. To me, that's a bad look. It's a bad look. And I know that we've complimented Parag on what he does before, but in this one, you got to read the room. You got to know who you're talking to. And like Mike said, the Bosas are all business. It happened with Joey. You knew it was going to happen with Nick. It happened with this rookie deal. You have experience with this before. And you're fiddling around and messing around and not getting the man in the building. And that's going to come back to you one way or another and bite you in the ass. Stop messing around and pay him. It's time. It's been time. It's past time now. Get it done.
And you know where the Niners really shot themselves in the foot with this Nick Bosa negotiation? You made George Kittle the highest paid tight end by 50% more than the next closest tight end, right?
And Kurt Sampson, in addressing your comment, Mike just did. You don't hesitate to reset the market when you got the best defensive player. And as Mike just said, George Kittle reset the tight end market by 50%. So they've done it before. They should do it now.
But I want you guys to understand how ridiculous of a number 50% is. If Nick Bosa were to reset the defensive lineman market for 50%, he'd be making over $50 million a year. He's not asking for that. He wants 32. He wants to be the highest paid by 2.5%. Pay the guy. Like, what are we arguing about here? No one told you guys to jump out the bushes like that for fucking George Kittle, who can't stay healthy. No one told you to do that. Oh, he's a phenomenal blocker. He's a great wide receiver. He can even go back there and play some fullback. None of those positions equate to one wide receiver financially. Not one of those positions equate to that. But you wanted to go out there and pay him like a top 10 wide receiver. Cool. Respect to George Kittle. I'm happy he earned it. Happy he's on the team, right? But we got to put this into context. If I'm the Bosa camp, I'm coming in here and I'm saying, hey, George Kittle was arguably the second best at his position, and you reset the market by 50%. This guy is clearly the best 4-3 defensive end in the entire NFL. Don't believe me? Ask his peers. Pro Bowls, defensive player of the year. Writers all agree with what we're saying right now. He's got all the accolades right now. That's what his team is saying. So fine, we'll start with George Kittle contract. Give us 50% more than the next closest guy. Where does that put us? That puts us at $49.2 million. Oh, we're being absurd? Fine, just make us the highest paid non-defensive player, non-quarterback. Make us the highest paid non-quarterback. $32 million is all we're asking for. And that's where you want to that's a little bit too much. We can't do that. What about TJ Watt money? Well, TJ Watt's a 3-4 outside linebacker. No, that's not what we're asking for. That's not what we're asking for. You think Aaron Donald is more important than what Nick Bosa is? Who shows up more when the games are on the line? Because the last time you guys played Aaron Donald, he was running past quarterbacks. He was getting stifled by guys named Jake Brendel. Who the hell is that? That's the one that you guys were considering letting go of, right? Nick Bosa's out there going up against the best and second best players on the offensive line week in and week out and still producing for you. He led the entire NFL in sacks. So don't tell us we're wrong for asking for 50, 40, 30, 20, 10% more than the next highest paid guy. We don't even want that. We're asking for 2% more. Just 2. Make us the highest paid non-quarterback. That's it. That's all we're asking. They're not being ridiculous in this. I'm sorry, but they're not. And every time when we paid Jimmy Garoppolo, do you know what people were saying? Well, let me say some people. Some people are, oh man, Jimmy's the next thing. He's Joe Montana. He's going to be Steve Young. He's going to be great. Imagine what he's going to do after year two. Year two with Kyle Shanahan and Matt Ryan. It was an MVP. And imagine what Jimmy Garoppolo's going to do. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. They were happy that they made Jimmy Garoppolo the highest paid quarterback at that time, right? Why are we dragging our feet here? Yeah. Why are we possibly dragging our feet? Someone out there in the world justify this to me. You can be the biggest Niner. Oh, it's not about the name on the back of the jersey. It's all about the logo on the side of the helmet. That's fine. Tell me why the logo on the side of the helmet is saying we shouldn't make him the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. You can't. There is no justifiable reason for this dragging that we're seeing right now, unless it's the 180 days in Florida thing. That's the only thing I got, guys. That is the only thing. And I don't know. When's the last time? Go ahead, Zach. If someone has a calendar or something, tell me.
Yeah. Just to address this comment, Kurt Sims says Jack Hammer from the Press Democrat is reporting the number's 35. That's outrageous from the market is 32. Is it really outrageous though? Like Nick Bosa just won Defensive Player of the Year. I don't think it's that outrageous to say he's $33 million more per year valuable to this team than what the market's at currently. I mean, the market was reset with Kittle. You guys just both addressed that. The Browns, I think, tight end, I forget what his name was the previously highest paid tight end. When these players haven't gotten a record-setting contract, and thank you, Austin Hooper, in a year or two, it only makes sense that the contract is then going to reset the market. It's not like we're talking, like Mike said, 50 million. We're talking an additional 3 million per year. The cap also goes up every year. So it's not that outrageous to really think Bosa's worth 35 per year for what he does to this team. And let's not forget, he just won Defensive Player of the Year. Like, it's not like we're coming off of his ACL year and, he just won Defensive Player of the Year.
He's had 2 straight years of elite production after that ACL tear.
Yeah.
2 straight years. And he won Rookie of the year before the ACL tear. So 3 out of 4 years, with the only year being the injury year. So Randy Daytona, Nick's injury resume is, injury history is scary too. No, it's not. Core muscle injury is something that's it's kind of genetic in the way that it works. It's essentially sports hernias, and he got both fixed. Those won't be a problem now. So and the mechanism, go back and watch the ACL injury against the Jets. The mechanism wasn't like, oh, this is a non-contact play. His leg was planted, and a 300-pound offensive lineman pushed him over when his leg was trapped. That's shearing force. There's nobody in the world that would not have had their knee torn up on that play. So, and you guys are complaining about, 35 million. Okay. Daniel Jones is going to make $40 million this year. Daniel Jones. Derek Carr is going to make 37.5. Who's more valuable to their team? Nick Bosa to the 49ers? Or those guys there? Jared Goff is going to make 33.5. And
here's the kicker, right? People want to compare this 30. I'm going to say 32, right? It was 31.666667 for Aaron Donald. That's why I kept saying 31.7. Just say 32. The cap has gone up twice since his signing. So based off of the percentages, 34, 35 is the same shit. It's the same thing. Just give him the money. Just give him the money. Play it all for percentages. Just give him the money. It's all the same thing. Like it's beyond annoying and frustrating as a Niner fan, right? Like we shouldn't have to worry about, well, he finally signed this deal. You know what's going to happen the moment they announce? They can announce it right now while we're on the air. You know what this conversation is going to turn to? It's going to be, well, he's been away for a while. Is he going to have a soft tissue injury as soon as he gets there? What's going to happen week 1? Do you think he's going to finish the game? Are they just going to use him as a situational pass rusher now, as opposed to being out there down in and down out? Because, by the way, he's also one of our best run stoppers on defense, right? Tackles for loss. He's up at the top of the league in that category also. Sacks. He's at the top of the league in that also. Now is he going to have to be a situational guy? The conversation is going to change immediately. Let's get this shit out the way and get him in here.
Yes.
Like, it's
exactly
just beyond frustrating.
Real quick,
and besides,
go ahead, Matt. Go ahead.
Besides the salary cap going to go up next year, D4's contract's going to come off the books after this year. That's $8.7 million, I think, is what he's counting against the cap this year. The new money won't even start this year; it'll start next season. I don't know what you're arguing. And if you don't think that Micah Parsons is going to come right behind this shit and get even more, you're crazy, because that's how this thing works.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it works in the NFL. It's, you're looking at these contracts of the quarterbacks or whatever, and each one tops the other one. Justin Herbert just signed his deal or whatever, and he's now making $52.5 million a year. That's almost double
Joe
what
Burrow's
Nick
going to come
Bosa's
and make
asking
more.
for. And it keeps going up and up and up, right? Like Patrick Mahomes is like 4th or 5th or 6th or something in AAV. Like that's how this always goes.
You want to know what the real problem is, guys? Just between us. Pretend no one else is watching. I don't know how many viewers in here. I can't see those numbers or anything like that, but just between, you guys are sipping in unison. Hold on. Don't leave me out of the little cheers, right? All right. But the problem is that the Niners are ready to pat themselves on the back for this deal before it's done. They want to make this big grandiose announcement. They want to do the whole, he signed his new contract with the quill pen and all that stuff. Like they want to make this big announcement, like this grand, hey, all eyes on us. Look what we just did. Ooh, hoorah, 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 hoorah. But you got to get the contract done first. You got to get him to agree to it. That's fine. You got really good 8K cameras to record him signing his contract. It's phenomenal that you have this feather pen that has been used by so many of the 49ers greats, and Frank Gore signed his one-day contract with the team using this pen and all that kind of stuff, right? All of that is phenomenal. I'm not taking anything away from you guys. Make your big announcement the way you want to. Make it a big deal. But get it done first. I'm going to fuck this guy up.
Let me address the super chat real quick.
All right, fired up. I got you, bro. I'm coming back for you later.
A guy 49ers Starback says next offseason, 49ers are going to have even more tough decisions to make. We have Brandon Ayuk coming up, Hufanga next. Salary cap catches up. It does, but at the same time, I think they position themselves in a nice position specifically because of who's playing quarterback. If this season goes the way the 49ers are planning on the way it's going to go, and Brock is their quarterback of the future, some guy they can at least win games with, and then if they decide in 2-3 years he's not enough, go from there. But at least for the foreseeable future, he's on that rookie salary. I don't think it's going to be that tough. I think they can fit all of these guys in. And I hate to say it, I don't know how much longer Trent's going to be here. He might have 1 to 2 years tops. Exactly. Mike's saying 2. I hate to say it, but I think that's the reality we're facing. Also, I see it in the chat. Mike, why don't you pay the difference? Mike, if the difference is only $3 million, why don't you pay it? Are you guys saving the $3 million? Because what the fuck does it matter to you? It's not my money. It's not your money. It's the team's money. Give it to them. No, what are we all sitting here? Imagine in 10 years, we're all sitting around having a beer and saying, damn, the 49ers should have kept Nick Bosa, but that $3 million, man. I'm so glad they saved that $3 million per year because now he's on another team and oh well, but I'm so glad they saved that $3 million so they can go and sign a Deshaun Gibson. I don't know what type of player are we talking here? It's not worth it. It's simply not worth it. Give him the money. Give him the damn money.
Exactly. And I hate to keep picking on Kurt Sampson. He says, I support the players, but the other side needs to be firm at the market number to be successful. Here's the thing. If the 49ers don't pay Nick Bosa $35 million a year, somebody else will.
Gladly.
Somebody else will. That's the thing. The 49ers aren't in control of the market. Nick Bosa is in control of the market because Nick Bosa can just say, I'm not going to play until I get that money. And if the 49ers don't do it, some other poverty-ass franchise will do it if the 49ers don't want to do it.
The Browns have been doing it for years. The Browns have been
Right.
buying the best of the best talent that's out in the free agent market for years. So please don't pretend like it's not something that teams won't do. I don't think I've ever heard Zach go off on the chat like that before. That was beautiful. Like,
you know what? This is the perfect
smiles
time.
for
This is the perfect time. That's the
Yes,
first time I've ever used that.
Absolutely love it. Like, I didn't even
Love it.
see anyone telling me to pay the difference. Like, get out of here, guys. Like, come on.
There was like
Honestly,
10
you want to know where the difference comes from, though? Honestly, all jokes aside, right? We wouldn't be in this position right now if they just paid George Kittle $12 million a year instead of $15 million a year. Guess what the difference is? Oh my God, it's $3 million.
Right.
Oh my God. Oh my
Right.
God, it's right there. Like you could have reset the market and still made him the highest paid tight end and helped that position group without giving him that much more. I'm sorry, but George Kittle was not that much more important than Travis Kelce. I'm sorry. I'm not even saying Hooper because I understand that he was the guy, right? I understand that he was the top at the time, but I'm not even saying him. It was really about George Kittle versus Travis Kelce. That's what it was. And he's not that much better than Travis Kelce. It should not have been that much more than Travis Kelce's contract.
I mean, production-wise, Kelce is the better tight end.
Exactly. You guys asked me what jersey I'm wearing. No, this is not a who they say Ja Morant jersey. This is a college jersey for Michael Jordan, right? And when Jordan was in the league, you know what they asked the players? Are you better than Jordan? No? Oh, well, then why should you expect to get paid as much as him? And that was the bar for NBA contracts. That's how it should have been. When are you better than Travis Kelce? Oh, you think you're a better blocker? Okay, we'll compensate you a little bit for that. Do you play as many games as Travis Kelce? No. Oh, that's a knock. Do you get as many yards? No. Okay, that's a knock. What about touchdowns? Not even half. Oh, okay.
Now the one defense I will say in terms of NBA contracts being like that is that their contracts are guaranteed, whereas NFL guys are not guaranteed, so they got to go and get it. Randy Daytona says, "How many teams have the cap room?" They all do, because the cap can be manipulated. Yeah. You don't think that other teams would be able to clear cap space to get Nick Bosa, by the way, who has no new money coming this year? His cap number is his cap number because he's on his 5th-year option.
You know who would be an amazing trade destination? Cincinnati. Cincinnati is going to have like top 6 cap space in the NFL next year. I mean, not factoring in a Burrow extension, but still, like Arizona, Cleveland, Cincinnati, like all of these teams are Chicago. Chicago could fit Nick Bosa.
Yeah, I have a sneaking suspicion that Joe Burrow is going to go more of the Tom Brady route, where he's going to take less to try to win a championship. He just seems like he's like that kind of guy to me. Junk says Watson contract almost fully guaranteed. I mean, it is fully guaranteed, and that's why the league was pissed about it.
And something that people need to remember about this whole thing is that because this is an extension, they take his current cap hit of $17 million, and that's what they're playing with. So it's not going to be $30 million in new money. It's minus the 17 that's already here. They're going to take that current ball of 17 million plus whatever he's asking for and manipulate that. So it might end up being just a cap hit of $22 million. You understand what I'm saying? Like it's not new money being thrown at him right now. And, so guys,
and by the way, some of this could be signing bonus too, and signing bonus can be split over 2 years.
Right. I just don't want people to sit here and think that we're saying that it has to be $35 million in addition to the $75 million that he has, because the Niners don't have that kind of money. They're going to take the 17 change that he's getting, that his cap hit currently is right now, and that's what they're negotiating with, plus his money in the future. So this year, his cap hit is 17.859. That's what his cap hit is right now. That's the money that they're playing around with, guys. Plus, they get that off the books. That creates 17 million of cap space, in addition to the 7 million that they have right now. Now you're at 24, but it's not he's going to get 24 million and we're going to be flat broke. No, you break that up over signing bonuses, workout bonuses, etc., and that's spread out over the length of the contract. The Niners shouldn't be looking to do a 3-year deal or even a 4-year deal. If I'm the Niners and I got a Nick Bosa who's 26 years old, again, not even into his prime yet. He's 25 years old and he hasn't quite seen his next birthday yet. I'm saying 26 because that's what it'll be at the end of the season. But right now, he's only 25 years old. This kid is not yet in the prime of his life. I'm giving him a 6-year deal. If it's me doing this, I'm giving him a 6-year deal. Now, his agent might not want to do that because, hey, no, the shorter the deal, the quicker you can re-up, the quicker you can get more big money and all that. They might be arguing over the semantics of that. But fine, let's settle in the middle and give him a 4-year deal. It should not be hard to make this deal happen. And when I say it shouldn't be hard, I'm saying that from the person that says there are people paid to make these kind of contracts. That's what their jobs are. That's what their jobs are. So for the person who's supposed to be doing this should be a walk in the park. Does he deserve it? Do we have the money? If all those answers are yes, make it freaking work. I don't have the ins and out of how the details are going to be laid out, but this should be easy for the people who do this for a living. Just make it happen. Just make it happen. Sorry, man.
Absolutely. No. You're good, man. And you know, the whole thing is just, again, what are the 49ers paying that they had to pay for Trey Lance? What are the 49ers paying for D Ford? Right? Shit, I think they're still paying Chip Kelly.
That comes from a different pool, but yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah,
no, but you know what I'm saying? Like,
it's principle.
Listen, I hate the argument of the team has to set the market, blah, 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 blah. The players are going to get theirs no matter what. And the market's going to keep increasing. The salary cap keeps increasing. But you're arguing for these conglomerates, these corporations, these entities as they are with the teams. It's like when people argue that, oh yeah, Disneyland should raise their prices or whatever. It's just like, how much money is enough for Disney? How much money do you need them to have? And you're pricing out your best. Like, how expensive is it to go to a 49ers game right now?
Crazy
prohibitively expensive. But it's okay because the team is paying players to be there. If they're not putting forth the product and they're just pocketing all that money, like why is everybody okay with that? I just don't understand that.
And that's the last thing I want to say about all this. As fans, none of us are in the front office. None of this is affecting our personal income. We're not paying anything out of pocket. As fans, we should not accept excuses from the team as to why they can't get this done. We should be saying, no, pay him immediately and make it work. Yeah. That's on them to figure out the dollars and cents. That's on them. You don't like it, then you should have not wasted so many draft picks on a guy that you're only going to play for 4 games and then move on from him, because those guys could have come in here and made significant contributions later on, the other draft picks that you gave up, right? That's on them. Because they screwed that up is not on us, the fans. It's not on us, the supporters of this team. We drafted this guy 3rd overall. I'm talking about Nick Bosa, not Trey Lance, right? We drafted him 3rd overall. This is homegrown talent.
He was 2nd.
No, he was 3rd. He was 3rd.
Second. Kyler Murray was 1st.
We didn't have the 1st pick.
We had the second pick.
I thought we traded down for
no. We traded down for Solomon Thomas.
We trade.
Oh, that's right. I got you're right.
Nick
You're right.
Bosa was
Okay.
second.
I apologize. Yeah. I'm wrong. There were 2 second overall picks, and we traded down one for Solomon. You're right. But this is homegrown talent. We went out there. We got him. We earned this. The NFL gives you discounts and stuff like that when you're extending guys that you drafted already. Like, this is everything we wanted it to be. Don't be mad as a fan counting dollars. That's not our responsibility as fans. We drafted him. He's who we thought he was. He's better than what we thought he was going to be. You guys should be expected to pay him. And we should be yelling with pitchforks, with torches, and everything in between to the franchise. Get it done.
Isn't
that
say, oh, well,
you pay it. We don't need to start a GoFundMe. We don't need to fly banners over the stadium. They're expected to do their jobs. This is all on the franchise, guys.
Isn't that the whole point, though? They paid for these guys that they hoped would be great, right? D Ford, Jimmy Garoppolo. You know this guy is great. You know he's great. Why aren't you paying him? That's the most frustrating part.
Here we are 50 minutes in and haven't said shit about the 53 minutes.
I was just going to say, I think we're done
insane
with the Bosa storyline. Hey, I'm hoping Kurt Sampson is correct. I'm hoping this contract comes through maybe first thing Tuesday morning. I'm kind of done holding out hope for it. I'm just going to wait until I see it. But until then.
Hey, Fallible JVC says here, it becomes our responsibility when you want to pay for a ticket to the game, Mike. If you think that Nick Bosa's contract is going to affect the cost of a ticket to a game, you're wrong. The salary cap is the salary cap. That has nothing to do with us. They're going to set those costs based off of who we're playing, when we're playing them, the time of year and all that stuff. That has nothing to do with the individual player's salary at all, guys.
The only place where that's true is Major League Baseball, where there is no hard salary cap.
That's it right there.
All right. With that all said, let's get into this 53-man roster. We can go position by position. We won't spend too long on it, but let's do it. I have this up via Niners Wire. Probably should have pulled up. This is kind of like a review. I was looking for just a list, but I got this up real quick. So let's just get it over. Shout out to Niners Wire for getting this together. All right. Obviously, we know quarterbacks. They decided to keep 3, which was an interesting decision. Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold, Brandon Allen. Any surprises here? Are you guys surprised they kept 3 overall and not just 2?
I'm a little surprised they kept Brandon Allen because I don't think anybody else would have snatched him up. They could have stashed him on the practice squad. Early on in the season, I don't know that, if you have the catastrophic happen, I mean, you're kind of screwed anyway. But if Purdy and Sam Darnold went down and you had to use an emergency quarterback, it's not going to be any worse in week 2 than it's going to be in the NFC Championship game. So that roster spot could have gone to one of the other guys that I thought had a shot. I know, Zach, you feel some type of way about Ilm Manning, who we can talk about, but that could have been a spot for him or somebody like that to stick around. So a little bit surprising, not shocking, I would say, just because I know that Kyle likes to have 3 quarterbacks. He carried 3 last year too, I believe, on the 53, even though obviously with last year's rules, only 2 dressed, 1 didn't, wasn't dressed or whatever, but they kept 3. They kept Josh Johnson for a lot of the year. So yeah, a little bit weird to me, but not completely shocking.
And let me just say this real quick before I toss it to Mike, if you have any thoughts. I was kind of laughing at the notion that Kyle Shanahan felt so comfortable with Brandon Allen that he was willing to let Trey Lance go. I thought that was a ridiculous notion, but fuck, was I wrong. Apparently he feels this comfortable with Brandon Allen and Sam Darnold that there's no need for Trey Lance to be here. So I heard there was rumors that Trey Lance possibly could have even been passed up by Brandon Allen on this depth chart. That was kind of whispered and kind of danced around by Mayoko and people kind of close to the team that Kyle Shanahan likes Brandon Allen that much. And clearly it's evident by him keeping him on the active roster. Mike, did you have any thoughts on this position group?
I was surprised that Sam Darnold was still QB2. I liked what I saw from Brandon Allen more than what I liked from Sam Darnold. So much so that, don't take my word for it, Kyle Shanahan told you guys exactly what the game plan was. Trey Lance will play 1 quarter or 1 half. The Sam Darnold will play the other half. A couple of snaps to Brandon Allen. Next game, it'll be first half to Sam Darnold, next half to Trey Lance, and then a little bit of Brandon Allen, where he literally needed extra reps, extra drives into the next half for Sam Darnold to even get into scoring position for the team. So I was actually more pleased with what I saw from Brandon Allen. I wouldn't be surprised that if it really came down to it, Brandon Allen got snaps before Sam Darnold. I just don't know that Sam Darnold has really shaken his history yet. Not with the Niners yet. Not that he's not more physically gifted, but I think Brandon Allen is more of a professional at this moment right now. That's just what I saw out there. He was working with a lot less talent against a lot, people really, really, really trying to make the roster on the defensive side of the ball, ready to make plays and take more risk. And I just thought that he looked more composed than what we saw from Sam Darnold. So I understand that I didn't have 3 quarterbacks making my initial 53-man roster. I thought Shanahan was going to surprise everybody and say, yeah, right, psych. We're only going to keep 2. But he kept 3, and I didn't have 2 guys. I had Brock Purdy, and then I put Sam Darnold with an asterisk next to it when I did my 53-man prediction show. And the reason it was an asterisk is because I felt that it should have been Brandon Allen over Sam Darnold based off of what we saw only in preseason. But the asterisk was because Sam Darnold was already named the backup. So I kind of respected what Kyle said.
All right. Next position group is the running backs. Christian McCaffrey, Elijah Mitchell, Terry Davis-Price, and Jordan Mason. They cut Jeremy McNichols, Brian Hill. There were no surprises here for me. I don't think either of you guys, any surprises?
Not for me, no. This is the group that I expected.
Mike, same.
Yeah, I'm interested to see, Elijah Mitchell says he's ready to go, but who knows how long that's going to last. I'm interested to see which one of them is actually running back 3, because to me, I thought that Jordan Mason had a little bit of a continued fumbling issue, and I thought that in the 3rd preseason game that TDP actually had more juice. So I don't know which one is kind of they're close, but I'd be interested to see if it came down to it, like who would back up Christian McCaffrey on that.
These are the same exact 4 running backs that I had. Now, when I did my show, I included Juice as a running back, but these are the same 4 that I had. So I'm not surprised by anything here. And no, go back. TDP is not horrible, guys. Let me explain something to you guys. When you see a guy that's decisive with the ball, that can run people over and still break tackles and all that, you want that kind of talent on your team. His one hiccup His one hiccup is pass protection, right?
And by the way,
Frank Gore,
that's most running backs. Most running backs pass block like dog shit.
right. But Frank Gore, who is one of the best pass blocking running backs in NFL history, is on this I can't say roster, but he is on this he's in the building. He's employed by the 49ers. So if there's anybody that you want TDP to learn from, let's take your natural ability and then let's work on your weakness with Frank Gore and Bobby Turner and make that one of your strengths. That's the perfect situation for a guy like TDP. So I think TDP can actually end up paying dividends next year for the 49ers or in the second half of the season.
Yeah. All right. We got a super chat from our guy, Sean. I think K is short but special when it comes to quarterbacks other than Purdy. Look at his track record. Mullins, a professional rock skipper. D Green envied his bounce pass. My dad threw farther with no arms.
Here's the thing, though. Nick Mullins was never supposed to play. That's the whole thing. If Jimmy stays healthy, Nick Mullins never sees the field.
I don't like that excuse, Matt. I'm sorry. I got to challenge you, bro.
Okay.
Don't put him on your roster if he's never supposed to be out there. I'm sorry. I just don't like it.
I'm just saying that. Okay, yes, the backup quarterback sometimes has to play. There's very rare occasion where they're good, but to say that that Kyle Shanahan is bad at picking quarterbacks because he had Nick Mullins in his building, I mean, I don't think that's very. Jimmy Garoppolo was thrust upon him, right? Like he didn't want Jimmy Garoppolo, and I think we can all, looking back, hindsight 2020, can admit that Kirk Cousins, if Kyle could have got him, would have been the best quarterback option for this team. We wouldn't, again, butterfly effect. We wouldn't have Nick Bosa. We wouldn't have this other stuff for sure. But to say that Kyle doesn't know what he's doing with the quarterbacks is just, and people will bring up the Tom Brady thing. That wasn't realistic given Jimmy Garoppolo's cap number and the dead cap that he was going to cost. That was never really something that was going to be in the offing. So the one guy that everybody said that Kyle really wanted, right, was Kirk Cousins. So he would have been the best one. I don't like that excuse of, oh, Nick Mullins shows that Kyle Shanahan can't pick quarterback. CJ Beathard. I'm like, dude, look at where these guys were drafted. They were drafted there for a reason. Nick Mullins was an undrafted free agent, if I'm not mistaken. He wasn't drafted at all.
That's correct.
So, again, he's looking at potential. And in camp with, hey, who am I looking to back up Jimmy Garoppolo? Oh, this Nick Mullins kid is actually – and by the way, Nick Mullins was QB3, by the way, because CJ Beathard was still on the team.
Bingo.
And CJ Beathard was benched because he got hurt. And Nick Mullins came in, played well against the Raiders, and Kyle Shanahan let it rock for a little bit. But then at one point, I think he actually went back to CJ Beathard, and then they kind of swapped roles. So it's not like, oh, Kyle Shanahan was like, I'm 100% behind Nick Mullins. He's my quarterback of the future and this and this and that. Now we'll see what Brock Purdy can do. There's still debate. I'm not sure if – and by the way, that's correct. CJ Beathard and Nick Mullins both still have jobs. But I'm not sure who Trey Lance actually was. There are conflicting reports. One, Kyle Shanahan wanted him. One, John Lynch wanted him. I don't think we're going to get a good answer to it. But, yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man.
You can watch the pressers and get your answer from that. Yeah. There was one guy that was all business, and the other guy was super emotional about the departure of Trey Lance.
Right, and it makes me think that Kyle Shanahan actually wanted Mac Jones.
Exactly. That's
who, by the way, probably would have run this offense just fine.
Yep.
We got a super chat from Sean. What about all the quarterbacks he passed up? I mean, you can say that about every coach.
Dude, this is the one that pisses me off the most. He passed up on Patrick Mahomes. Okay, first of all, nobody thought Patrick Mahomes was going to be what Patrick Mahomes was. Yes. He was viewed coming out of college as a project quarterback, as one that needed to improve his accuracy. He went to an offensive genius in Andy Reid. Fantastic, great. People forget Kyle Shanahan was hired by the 49ers 2 weeks before the scouting combine. You do not hitch your wagon to a franchise quarterback with no runway leading up to the combine and the draft. You just don't do that. That's bad management. So take Patrick Mahomes out of it. And then what else do we have? He drafted a guy in the third round. He undrafted free agent. Trey Lance is looking like he was John Lynch's pick. He wanted Kirk Cousins. And that's not a bad evaluation, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to let's see what's next.
I mean, I'd love to hear anybody else's response to that if they have one.
I mean, I don't think there's anything else to say. It's just like you said, blame the Falcons for making it to the Super Bowl because that really delayed the Kyle Shanahan getting a head start on scouting quarterbacks.
I do have one more thing to say about Kyle and quarterbacks. He has made himself more valuable than any quarterback under center. It's not, I think all of us on this panel will agree, it's not the physical attributes or the play of the quarterbacks. It is the system and the design, and if you can hit the open guy in the short and intermediate routes. I think Kyle has done something that no other coach in NFL history has been able to do. He has proven that if you can operate in my system and not be a stellar physical performer, we can at least make a deep run in the postseason. Kyle Shanahan did what Chip Kelly thought he could do. Chip Kelly came in here and did the same exact thing. One guy had success and one guy didn't. Those are the differences. Chip Kelly went to the Eagles and just cleared house. We don't need Mike Vick. We don't need Deshaun Jackson. We don't need, like, he got rid of everybody. LaShawn McCoy. I don't need big names. I have a system that I trust, and my system is going to work. Kyle did the same thing. Chip Kelly got ran out of town. He came to San Francisco, did the same exact thing, right? Kyle Shanahan has actually proven it. 3, not 1, not 2, but 3 NFC championships. One actually went to a Super Bowl appearance, and he's done it with whatever quarterback happens to be under center, right? Kyle has made himself more valuable than anybody under center, and that's a rarity. Now, there's a little catch with that, right? Has Kyle not built a system around a quarterback because they haven't stayed healthy long enough to do it consecutive years? Maybe. That's an argument, and I would respect that argument. But the truth is the truth. What we've seen is multiple quarterbacks, year in, year out. Nobody can finish consecutive years, and he's still been winning games. So for whatever the reason is, Kyle's getting it done with the system. That's where we are, guys. We just have to accept that that's what it is. I don't know that if another, I'm not going to name anybody. I don't know that if another quarterback or if another head coach was here and offensive coordinator was here with the turning of the quarterback position, we'd have the same amount of success. And that's why Kyle has a value. We haven't seen that yet. Now, where we'll start to see Kyle's feet held a little bit more to the fire is you moved on from a guy that we traded up to get after just 4 starts. Now, all of a sudden, it's going to be like, hey, you better be right about this guy. That's when the flames are going to heat up a little bit. So I'm not mad at what Kyle has done. I'm not upset about it at all. And I'm one of the guys that appreciate Kyle, but I also think that, hey, don't fuck up now. Like I am on both sides of that fence, just to be clear with where I stand personally.
And I want to push back against this. Man, stop making excuses. Listen, I'm just recognizing how good he is. 3 NFC championship games in 4 years. That's not an excuse. And you can be tired of hearing about the system all you want. People in hell are tired of it being hot, but it is what it is. So you got to recognize it. And it's one of those things where, like, what you said is true. You know, again, there was another comment about who was it? Niners had success with 2 guys. Yeah, the other guys that they had weren't NFL level quarterbacks, weren't starting NFL level quarterbacks. Say what you want about Jimmy Garoppolo. He's at least a bridge starter in the NFL, at least. And we don't know what Brock Purdy is yet, but he's off to a really good start. No one ever thought, I mean, did anybody, when CJ Beathard went in there, did anybody actually think he was going to be a franchise guy? When Nick Mullins got run, did anybody actually think he was a franchise guy? No. So stop using that. It's a poor argument.
Yeah.
All right. Fullbacks. We got a super chat from Sean. He wants someone to listen to him, sacrificing ability, even if they can't play. Who was that other garbage guy he brought in? Hoyer. Come on, man.
Yeah, okay, but Hoyer was somebody familiar with his system that was brought in because
a bridge
that was
quarterback.
His first year. It was a cheap contract. It was his very first year. And like I said, you don't hitch your wagon to a quarterback in the draft. I mean, imagine if he had, because for as good as Patrick Mahomes was, it could have been just as easy that Mahomes was a bust and Mitch Trubisky was the good quarterback.
Like he was quarterback taken.
Fuck me, man.
He was the highest quarterback taken.
Yep.
Yeah, but like it's like, you know, people have like this like revisionist history, this hindsight shit going on. And
of course they do.
It absolutely drives me crazy. Like people forget that Patrick Mahomes sat an entire year because he was so raw. Andy Reid didn't want to put him on the field. He had all the same physical abilities, right? But no, because your brain is wired to go out there and scat back this whole shit. And that's not going to work at this level. Sit down and watch the statue Alex Smith. Take that, apply it to yourself, and then we can start to do other things based off of that, right? He needed a whole year to learn that, right? If we did draft Patrick Mahomes, physically, he would have beat out anybody that was here that year, right? Let's just say the Niners traded back. They got Patrick Mahomes instead of Solomon Thomas. That was what happened in 2017, right? We still got CJ Beathard, right? And then we went on with Brian Hoyer and all that. Patrick Mahomes would have beat out those guys, and he would have been so raw and he would have been so improv that he would have driven Kyle Shanahan insane. Like, dude, this is the play I designed. Why are you scrambling to the left when the guy was open right there? You just got to trust the line. Like, these are things that we just can't take into account. Patrick Mahomes had to sit and learn a year to become Patrick Mahomes. He's not Patrick Mahomes without that time, without that growth, without the improvements on the offensive line for the Kansas City Chiefs. No one talks about that, right? We've seen talented guys like David Carr go to a team like the Giants and then get shell-shocked because the rest of the team wasn't ready around him. Like, we can't sit here and play those kind of games. Like, there's just too much evidence to show that playing a guy too soon doesn't work in their favor. That's all I'm saying, guys. Like, the Niners had the worst roster when Kyle and John took over. It was the worst roster, guys. So Patrick Mahomes would not have been Patrick Mahomes if we drafted him in 2017. I'm sorry, but he wouldn't have been.
And people underestimate what Alex Smith also did for him. On top of Andy Reid being one of the best coaches in NFL history, Alex Smith being one of the best professionals in NFL history, and knowing what it's like for a highly drafted quarterback to go through that, I think that Alex Smith, and by the way, Patrick Mahomes will be the first guy to tell you that he isn't who he is without Alex Smith.
Sorry.
Yeah. We got a super chat from Sean. You're making all kinds of excuses for what we have seen. Painfully obvious him and his dad couldn't pick a quarterback if their lives depended on it. Even Cousins is a choker. His dad only coached Elway. Like, I don't think it's an excuse to just state what happened.
No, I think you guys just have it in your mind that you have a narrative, and it's hard to convince closed-minded people of things, but, you know, it is what it is. Because, again, to go into a draft to pick somebody who, go back and read the scouting reports. To a man, they all say he has incredible physical talent, but he has a gunslinger attitude. It's going to lead to interceptions in the NFL. He's raw. He's a project. He needs time. To a man, they all said that. And the Chiefs traded up to get him. That's fantastic. That's great. But to tie your regime to that guy, hired 2 weeks before the combine, with no legwork, you don't have your scouts in place. You have a brand new general manager in John Lynch, who's never done the position before. He just came straight out of the booth, right? To do all that, to hitch your wagon to that guy. And then Bill Belichick doesn't call Kyle Shanahan. Bill Belichick calls John Lynch. John Lynch goes to Kyle Shanahan in the midst of what was it? At the time, they were like 1-8 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And says, hey, we got an opportunity for Jimmy Garoppolo. Do you want to bring him in?
I'm sorry, we were 0-8. We hadn't won a game. 0-8, 0-9. Like, we didn't win a single game until Jimmy got here. There was not a single win before they acquired Jimmy Garoppolo.
And so they bring in Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo has 5 great games. They extend him. That takes Kirk Cousins, who Kyle Shanahan wanted, off the books, who would have been the best quarterback to play here. All right. So the next year, Jimmy Garoppolo gets hurt. He has to play CJ Beathard and Nick Mullins. Okay. Then they go to the Super Bowl in 2019. 2020, Jimmy gets hurt again. Right? So now they're going, okay, we got to draft the future. Okay, well, it ends up being Trey Lance. Who wanted who, I don't think we'll ever know. But they bring back Jimmy. He couldn't beat out Jimmy Garoppolo in camp. And the rest goes from there. But it's just like,
Can I just say this? Let me meet you guys halfway. Maybe
I got to address this too, by the way, when you're done, because this is silly shit.
Let me just say this, and then I'll shut up. Right? I do think you guys are right to question Kyle Shanahan and his evaluation of quarterbacks. It seems that he doesn't want physical talent. To me, this is what I see. He wants someone that's going to operate his system the way that he wants it operated. He doesn't want the improv shit. He doesn't want someone that's going to get off of the first read if the first read might be open. He wants someone that's going to pull that trigger. He wants a programmable quarterback. I do sincerely believe that. And I do think that can cause someone during the evaluation process to throw out all of the physical attributes of someone, right? Deshaun Watson here. I don't know that Kyle would have the same success that he had with Brock Purdy, right? Because Deshaun Watson might be a little bit more of a risk taker or a gunslinger and things like that, right? There's certain guys that just want to throw the ball downfield. They personally aren't physically happy with the check downs and throws at the line of scrimmage. I like throwing the ball down the field. I like dropping back and letting it rip, right? I think that it's fair to question Kyle and what he wants out of the quarterback position, that position in particular. But I think what we should all agree on is that Kyle wants the offense to run efficiently. And that's what's getting lost in the context when we start looking at just the one position, when we start harping on the one position. Kyle has made it very clear that he damn near wants positionless football. If you're not an offensive lineman, he wants you to be able to line up in the backfield, running backs, tight ends, fullbacks. If you're a fullback or a running back, he also wants you to be able to line up outside the numbers as a wide receiver. We've seen that with Juice since he's been here. We've seen that with Christian McCaffrey since he's been here. He's taken Debo from outside the numbers and put him behind the line of scrimmage. He essentially wants positionless football at every single position on the offensive side of the ball. And I think that gets lost in all this mumbo jumbo. You guys are absolutely right, in my opinion, to question him and his views on the quarterback position. I still don't know what exactly he's looking for from that position. So I can't tell you guys that you're wrong. But what I can say is that he expects the offense to run a certain way. And if you are the sole reason that the offense isn't doing what he expects it to do, he is not going to hesitate to move on from you, even if you only got 4 starts. I'm done.
Yeah, bring up that comment. Where'd that comment go? Yeah, Patrick Mahomes was too risky to hitch to, but Mr. Relevant is not. Listen, 2017, the 49ers had the worst roster in the NFL. The worst roster in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes would have got his ass lit up, and he would not be the Patrick Mahomes that he is now because he would have been forced to play too early with too bad a team, and we've seen what happens to young players that go through that. Patrick Mahomes went to a playoff team, got to sit a year behind a pro who was a number 1 overall draft pick who had gone through being replaced and knew what being a professional was about, and had one of the best head coaches in the NFL. To that point, we didn't know if Kyle Shanahan was going to be a good NFL head coach. So, yeah, having seen what Brock Purdy, this is the guy that he's hitching to. And this is the guy that I'm going to judge him off of. I'm not judging him off of not picking Patrick Mahomes when he was hired a couple weeks before the combine. Like, that's ridiculous. I am going to judge him off of this one. That's for sure. He's definitely going to be judged off of this one. So it is what it is. You can throw the super chat back up.
Sean says, name one quarterback they have picked as won a championship or brought in. 0. They should have somebody else like quarterback or Garab. I assume he's trying to say Garbagelo, Young and Elway.
It's Garbagelo.
Garbagelo. Young and Elway was just that. Young and Elway weren't picked by him or them. I'm not a hater, just facts. So does winning a national championship, is that the only baseline that you judge on bringing in a quarterback? I mean, it's...
Yeah, I know. Hey, Sean, how many active quarterbacks have a Super Bowl ring?
That's a good question.
It's 6. 6. Aaron Rodgers, Joe Flacco, Russell Wilson, Nick Foles, Matthew Stafford, and Patrick Mahomes. So 2 out of those 6 aren't starting quarterbacks in the NFL right now.
Hold on. Jimmy Garoppolo's got a Super Bowl ring too.
Started.
It's the people who played in the Super Bowl.
Oh, okay. All right, I'm gonna shut up again. All right.
Yeah. It's people that played in the game. But Nick Foles and Joe Flacco have one. So that's 33% of the active quarterbacks who played and won a Super Bowl don't even start in the NFL anymore. You see where this is going? Super Bowl rings is not. Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl ring. You put Dan Marino in today's NFL with his arm and you can keep him upright, he's going to eat all day long with the way that the rules are nowadays.
He's the best quarterback I ever watched. Just
Joe
so you
Montana
guys
just
know.
said that, by the way. He said he's getting enough respect.
But I've been saying that for years.
Yeah.
And people were like, how can you say that as a 49er fan? You got Joe Montana. And I'm like, yeah, I watched Joe Montana and I watched Dan Marino. And Dan Marino was day and night better than what Joe Montana
as a quarterback.
Was.
Sure. Yeah. For sure. You don't think that somebody like Warren Moon would straight up eat today? That dude would be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Prime Warren Moon. Yeah. All day. He doesn't have a Super Bowl ring.
Jason says, I'd love to see you guys debate Grant Cohn. That's funny. All right.
I
I'd do
actually
it.
did that, and he said, "All right, I gotta go. I'm not doing this." And he left my show early,
Yeah.
just so you guys know.
I don't doubt it.
actually did that. I can post it again for you guys if you want to see it, but I challenged Grant on a lot of things that he said, and he did not like it. So
I
sorry.
challenged Grant on Twitter, and we had been following each other, and he stopped following me.
I'm actually surprised he still follows 49ers Hive. I don't ever like tweet going back and forth with him because I don't really think it's worth the time. But definitely there are some things that I don't think he would follow me for. But all right, let's get back into this roster breakdown. For fullback, no shit. Kyle Juszczyk cut. Jack Coletto. This might be Juice's last year with the team. I guess we'll see if it makes sense financially to keep him past this year. Next, wide receiver. This was kind of the.
By the way, all the more reason to pay Nick Bosa if Kyle Juszczyk's big ass contract ain't gonna be here either.
Yeah. Debo, Brandon Ayuk, Jawan Jennings, Ray McLeod, Ronnie Bell, and Danny Gray. Those last two spots were kind of the ones that people had been keeping an eye on all offseason, all preseason. They cut Chris Conley, Willie Snead, Isaiah Winstead, Tay Martin, and Anthony Miller. Any surprises here to you guys? Go ahead, Mike. You're nodding yes.
So this was roster manipulation at its finest, this position group in particular, right? Raymond McLeod had the broken hand, if I'm not mistaken. Danny Gray had a long-term injury as well. But if they put them on IR before the final 53, they were done for the season. So they brought both of those guys in. They made the final 53. And then they put them on IR and brought back Chris Conley and Willie Snead to the practice squad. So they manipulated the roster because I think they want to get something from those two guys, Danny Gray and Ray McLeod, throughout the regular season at some point in time. So on my initial 53 for the wide receivers in particular, I had Ayuk, Samuel, Jennings. I had Bell, Conley, and Snead. I would have been right based off of who's here and available now, but again, it was roster manipulation. So I did it based off of who I thought should have made the team versus injuries and all that. I don't think we're going to get anything from Danny Gray this year, guys. I'm sorry. I just don't. I think that I'm not saying he's a one-trick pony, but I think his skill set doesn't match the quarterback that we currently have on the roster. I could be wrong. Kyle might dial up some stuff that's a 7-step drop that he can get the ball to Danny Gray in stride, 20, 30 yards down the field and see what happens. But I just don't think Danny Gray fits the system. As far as Ray McLeod, I only see him as a return specialist. And even that isn't so special. Like, specialist is in quotes. I liked what I saw from Ronnie Bell and Jamison Moore. Not more, but they provided other things on the defensive and also offensive side of the ball. I would have been okay with letting Ray McLeod go. No disrespect to him at all. So I didn't have him making the roster either, but I think Ronnie Bell absolutely earned it.
No real surprises for me. I'm in agreement with Mike. I think that they did what they had to do. Conley, I thought Conley played pretty good in the preseason. And I know Willie Snead is a big time veteran. He made some plays too. I didn't hear or see a lot from Winstead, Martin, or Miller. I think those guys weren't on my radar at all. And like Mike said, if you have Ray McLeod, who's supposed to miss 8 weeks, but he slots in as like the primary return guy, he'll be back. They want to bring him back. And then Danny Gray, I'm kind of with Mike. It looks like it's another failed mid-round pick. I think he was a third, right? He was a third-round pick. Another failed third-round pick. He just doesn't really fit. And his injury was really, that kickoff return that he had was pretty nice. But then he got injured on it, and that becomes an issue because the one thing that you could have done, right, if you're not going to be a wide receiver out on the field, is contribute on special teams. And if you get injured doing that, it's, again, availability thing. But I am pleasantly surprised with how well my man from Michigan, Ronnie Bell, did, particularly as a 7th-round draft pick. I thought that was really good, and he did a great job of standing out. Still has some mistakes to clean up, but from a 7th-round guy to be that versatile and gain the trust of more than one of the backup quarterbacks on this team. I mean, whether it was Darnold, whether it was Lance, whether it was Allen, they were all looking his way. And that's how you separate yourself and you make a team. And that's how you go from a bubble roster guy to being somebody that could potentially, make yourself, a game day addition that's actually worth something on the field. So if he keeps it up, I'll throw it out here right now. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he shoots a little bit past Juwan Jennings on the roster if he keeps doing what he's doing, because to me, he just looks like he has more juice.
All right. I got to address. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Kurt Sampson, you put the comment up at 11:57. Says, Mike, all the love, but thinking that Conley and Snead were 53-man roster prospects is ridiculous. Let me just make something very clear. I talked about roster manipulation. Both of those guys made the practice squad. And since then, since this has happened, Danny Gray's been put on IR. He is no longer on the active roster. All right. Ray McLeod is on the active roster, but he can't participate for another 3 weeks. So I guarantee you those two guys will be active, or at least one of them will be active week 1. All right. So it's not that it's ridiculous. Both of those guys showed more than McLeod and Gray did in preseason. And the Niners will use them before they use either of the other two guys in McLeod and Gray. It's not ridiculous, but this is roster manipulation. So this is a politic thing, right? If they put those guys on IR like I thought they should have, they were done for the entire year, Kurt. All right. So this isn't me like clapping back. Don't take it that way. But I'm just trying to explain something and how the roster, the final 53 works. They had to let those veterans go. They can make a deal with veterans and say, hey, like, you get to choose. They're not guys that have to get claimed and they just go wherever. They get to say where they go. Hey, we want to bring you guys back as soon as we put these two guys on IR. We'll bring you both back. And they did that. As soon as the 53 was announced, they put people on IR and they brought those guys right back to the practice squad. You will see more from Conley and Snead more immediately than you will from McLeod and Gray. So no, I was not wrong. I was not ridiculous. I just did it straight up. I didn't do it based off of the roster manipulation.
Got to address this comment from Divine Comedy, who, where is it? Right here. Kyle, the alleged offensive genius, can't find one quarterback. Meanwhile, keep Pete Carroll up in Seattle, who ain't even an offensive genius, can make Geno Smith into an instant Pro Bowler. Are we not forgetting what he did for Matt Schaub? Are we forgetting what he did for Matt Ryan? Let's be 100% honest. If Purdy played an entire season, he's a Pro Bowler. Like, if what we got out of Purdy from the 8 games or however many games he played is indicative of what he would be for an entire season, he's a Pro Bowler. Like, I don't get this narrative. And I see you also commented here, Divine Comedy. Where is it? Kyle
also, by the way,
good head coach. He's a glorified OC, elite OC, but should have stayed an OC. As a head coach, he's what? 3rd best in his own division? No, he's the best in his division. I don't put him below Pete Carroll. I don't put him below Sean McVay. I get those two have won a championship, and that maybe holds a little more weight. But moving forward and currently, I wouldn't take either of those coaches over Kyle Shanahan. Like, I don't get the hate for him. I really don't.
I love the Geno Smith instant Pro Bowler. Dude lost all 3 times he played the 49ers. All 3. And got worse as the year went along. And they paid him. So we'll see what Geno Smith is. To me, Geno Smith had a good season. And he's going to come back down to earth. We'll see, though.
Yeah. Throwback. Do I think Purdy will be a Pro Bowler this year? If he plays all 17 games, I think he would.
How are they going to do that? Didn't they kill the Pro Bowl? Pro Bowl's not even.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. That's a good point. That's actually a really good point.
I don't know if they're just going to have like an honorary Pro Bowl or what, but that's like what all pro is for.
If there was a Pro Bowl, I think he would make it. Kurt says, Mike, I was saying that Conley and Snead had almost no chance of making the 53 without those roster considerations. Snead has been bouncing around practice squad for years. Conley is going that route. Willie Snead was on the active roster multiple times last season.
But here's the thing.
He's a guy they love.
Mike said that. It's like he wasn't listening and was just waiting for his turn to comment. Like, Mike literally said, this is roster manipulation at its finest. That was the first thing out of his mouth. Unbelievable.
Mike, Throwback asked for your thoughts on Brock Purdy's recent comments. Let me pull them up here. Brock Purdy, I may not be the stereotypical 6'6" quarterback who is throwing deep balls and doing all this crazy stuff, but I find ways to win. I believe this was an interview with Sky TV. Any thoughts on these comments, Mike?
He does exactly what he's asked to do. That's it.
Yeah. Perfect.
That's it.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. And that's why Kyle loves him so much. I think, Mike, you said it earlier. He's an extension of Kyle Shanahan's brain on the field.
I will say, did anybody else find it like a little odd that the guy asking him questions spoke in a British accent. I wasn't expecting that when I turned on the interview. I was like, wait, what?
Sky TV is like
I
an
just wasn't expecting.
international.
No, I know Sky TV is like from, I think it's Canada.
Yeah,
is where they're based out of. But still, that the English accent talking about American football, I was like, huh.
You guys get way too emotional about people's comments. Don't let's get you upset. I don't think anyone's emotional here.
No one's upset, man.
No.
We're just correcting. We're just correcting what's. We're trying to help you guys out, man, so that you guys don't go on Twitter and make mistakes and
correcting, responding, and clarifying. Like that's not emotional though. Yeah. Like no one's responding to what you guys are saying, and if you're wrong with how you have like concluded what we're saying, we're correcting you. That's all. It's not a big deal. I don't think anybody's uptight. So. I don't think that's it at all.
Also,
no, after this show, I'm gonna go to sleep.
Yeah. Pete Carroll is 17-9 versus Kyle after going 0-3 last year. That man owns Kyle. What are we even doing here? Let's not forget that Kyle had a shitty roster while the Seahawks. It was like the exact opposite trajectories, right? Seahawks were at the top, coming down. They had just made multiple Super Bowl appearances, and the 49ers were completely bare, building a roster from the bottom up. What does it matter what he was previously to last year? The only thing that matters is right now and going forward. And he just got swept 0-3 in your own comment last year.
Super confused because Kyle and Carroll have not played each other 26 times. I don't know what that number was. What was that supposed to be? Kyle and Carroll haven't played each other 26 times. What the hell was that?
Yeah, that's a good point. That would be like 13
now
seasons.
I'm going to seem like I'm emotional responding to the commenters. I'm not emotional. I just don't know what that was supposed to be.
Are they counting? Is he trying to count when Kyle was like an offensive coordinator or something?
Maybe
even still, they have not played each other that many times.
Yeah. Right.
They haven't. I don't know what those numbers were.
Fired Up 49 says you are upset because you are avoiding my comments. There's a lot of comments here, man. I can only click on so many at a time. If you want to resend one that we missed, please do.
Yeah, resend it. We'll bring it up.
Yeah. Thank you, JBL. You guys don't sound upset. I mean, we're just talking football. This is an everyday show.
I like the 49ers throwback. It's not 10 p.m., Matt. Bedtime hasn't started. You know what? I have a newborn, bro. Bedtime is whenever I can fucking sleep at this point.
And look, hey, there's no hard feelings here. We appreciate all of you guys. Even if you disagree with us, especially if you disagree with us, because we appreciate the fact that you still tune in and you share your thoughts. This is what football is all about. Come and share your thoughts. Come and tell us why you think we're wrong. We'll tell you why we think you're wrong. This is what this show is about, right? There's no, we try not to hide comments. We try not to do anything that makes us look bad, or maybe if the comment, disagrees with us, we want to hear it all out. If I'm saying some ridiculous shit about the 49ers, I would love to be corrected. I would love to be told why I'm wrong, because I don't want to look like an idiot moving forward. If I'm saying stupid shit, I trust my co-host or the chat to tell me that I'm saying stupid shit. And I believe you guys do the same thing. So, yeah. These guys love talking down commentators. Post good stuff. All right. Let's move on this roster. Where are we going? Tight end. George Kittle, Charlie Warner, Ross Dwelley, Braden Willis, Cameron Latu was placed on IR. A bit of a surprise, in my opinion. And they cut Troy Fumagalli. Were there any surprises for either of you guys here?
I think the surprise is them carrying 4. I think that's kind of a lot. Cameron Latu, he had a meniscus injury. If they're going to do the repair, I could see them putting him on season-ending IR. He's a rookie. They usually redshirt their offensive rookies. I don't know. Maybe Braden Willis is like a special teams guy that they're going to use. I don't know. It's a little surprising that they're doing 4, though, for me.
Yeah. I had Kittle, Dwelley, and Fumagalli. I really, really liked what I saw from Fumagalli over the rest of the camp. And I also am very, very fond of Latu. I was happy that they were able to stash him, put him on season-ending IR. You keep his rights. He'll be back next year. I would have this guy working a jugs machine from the moment he's able to get back out there. He runs the best routes of all the tight ends that are out there, and he doesn't mind blocking as well. He is the George Kittle replacement. I'm telling you guys right now. I'm telling you, he is the George Kittle replacement. Dwelley's going to be gone. Warner's going to be gone. And it's going to be a whole new mix of tight ends here in the next 2 seasons. And he's going to be the future of them here for the San Francisco 49ers. I'm not surprised by anybody. Kittle, Warner, and Dwelley are the veterans. Braden Willis kudos to him. I did not have him being the guy. I thought he was going to be a practice squad guy, but he made it. So kudos to him.
Yeah. Which is funny because after the draft happened, a lot of people were saying Cam Latu is going to be, surpassed by Braden Willis. That didn't really happen in the preseason, but in the end, I guess it kind of happened. Not because of why people thought that Braden Willis would be more impactful and play better, just simply because of injury. All right. By the way, Matt, Mike, the chat is begging you to post the Grant Cohn interview debacle that you talked about earlier. Do you have something to say?
No, I'll find it and I will repost it on the Nothing But Niners channel. I have to find that interview, but I do have one and I'll post it. He was like, "Oh, I got to go do laundry. I got to go." Like it was some like weird shit that he said to get out of
strange.
it. So I don't remember what we were talking about. This was years ago, guys. So don't like. I might have hyped it up and made it sound more than what it was, but I'll definitely.
They got into a verbal argument, and Grant Cohn showed up at Mike's door with a loaded gun, ready to murder Mike. This is crazy. You guys are not going to want to miss it. You can only see it if you like and subscribe to Nothing But Niners channel, though. That's the only way you can watch this video.
And the Patreon.
And the Patreon. You sign up for the highest tier. I'm sorry.
The ring footage will be on the Patreon page.
Oh God, I was terrible. I put live. Does Grant Cohn hate the 49ers? Why would I put that as the title?
I think my title was interview with Grant Cohn. Is he a troll? And I asked him straight up, and he said, "Some people think I am. I don't think I am." I appreciated the fact that he was willing to come on and have the conversation, though. A lot of people aren't. He's willing to go on almost every show. If you really are starting a channel and you want to ask Grant Cohn on, he'll come on.
The craziest thing to me is that he's definitely one way online and then definitely another way when you meet him in person.
Oh, for sure.
Like
apparently I've had him on 4 times. I didn't even know it was 4 times.
Damn. No, he's very nice and very personable in person and then just goes like scorched earth online. It's a wild disconnect for me.
Ever since, and keep this in mind, guys, and I'm not saying he's doing this, but ever since Twitter started initiating payouts based off of the traffic you drive up, he's been tweeting some wild shit. So maybe there's a chance he's just getting that Twitter revenue, because I know this dude's making a killing on YouTube. Maybe he's just like, hey, I could add Twitter to my business model and make a killing on Twitter too. So if you see somebody tweeting some wild shit on Twitter and they got like 500 replies and 500 quote tweets, just keep in mind you're paying that dude's bills as you engage in the conversation because they're tweeting wild shit. And hey, maybe engage in 49ers Hives conversations every now and then if you want to pay my bills. I'm just throwing that out there. All right, let's move on to the next position. Oh, excuse me, we have it up already. Offensive line: Trent Williams, Colton McKivitz, Jalen Moore, Matt Pryor, Spencer Burford, Aaron Banks, Jake Brendel, John Feliciano, and Nick Zakelj. They cut Leroy Watson the 4th, Il Manning, Alfredo Gutierrez, Jason Poe, Joey Fisher, Keith Ismail, and Corey Luciano. My opinion, real quick, I was surprised they cut Il Manning because I thought he was one of the few bright spots in the preseason. And I thought he was somebody that was, yes, raw, but they could work with to develop, especially with the offensive line coaches they have. And of course, immediately he was claimed by Arizona. I believe they also claimed Keith Ismail, if I remember correctly. But other than that, I don't have any surprises on the offensive line. Do you guys have any thoughts on this? Who made this?
I had Jason Poe. Oh, sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead, Mike.
I had Jason Poe making it. I thought he looked really good from a guard position, backing up a couple of guys, but he did not make it. I was very, very disappointed that Matt Pryor made this roster.
I'm actually with both of you guys. I thought Il Manning and Jason Poe should have made it. Matt Pryor did not impress me. I thought he was a disaster. And Nick Zakelj he's trash.
He's a holding penalty waiting for the flag.
I just hope that I don't know why Chris Forster likes Nick Zakelj so much. I don't understand.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, but hopefully he never has to see the
field. All I know is that this starting offensive line better not get hurt. Otherwise,
they better never lose Williams.
We saw the second and third string, right? None of these quarterbacks had time.
No. If they lose Trent, it's a huge drop off. They better hope that never happens. All right. Next position group: defensive line, Nick Bosa, Drake Jackson, Cleveland Farrell, Eric Armstead, Javon Hargrave, Javon Kinlaw, Kevin Givens, Kalia Davis, Robert Beal Jr., and they cut Austin Bryant, Kerry Hyder, T.Y. McGill, Marlon Davidson, Braylon Speaks, Alex Barrett, Ladarius Hamilton, and Spencer Wagee.
Yeah.
I was surprised they cut T.Y. McGill. This is a guy who played meaningful snaps with the 49ers last year, including in the playoffs, and who had a pretty good preseason. I thought he would have made it maybe over a guy like Kalia Davis. Robert Beal's the rookie. I think they kind of owed it to themselves to let him get a roster spot. Other than that, they brought back, I believe, Kerry Hyder and Austin Bryant on the practice squad. Maybe I'm wrong if it's not Austin Bryant, but I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on this.
It should be noted that Nick Bosa did not count towards the initial 53 because he's on the reserve list. And that was a way to manipulate the roster even further. They have since re-signed Kerry Hyder to the active roster. I believe they signed him to a 1-year deal, so he's back.
Okay, all right.
Not super surprised by any of this stuff. I think once you get down to a certain level of the depth, you're just kind of, maybe T.Y. McGill, but I think they have a lot there that they're working with. And I think they were stacked at defensive tackle with Javon Hargrave. You got Javon Kinlaw, Eric Armstead, amongst other Kalia Davis. So at that point, you're looking at maybe he's like the 6th, defensive tackle 6. And I'm more surprised that they don't have more edge rushing, but we'll see how that pans out. But they're very, very deep, amongst the deepest defensive tackle group in the NFL. So T.Y. McGill, while it kind of sucks, is not the most surprising to me.
Yeah, McGill was one that I had making it, and I was, that's probably it. I had Bosa, Jackson, Hargrave, Armstead, Kinlaw, Beal, Davis, Farrell, Givens, and McGill. So not a lot of surprises there. I think we all knew what this group was going to be. So, yeah.
All right, next. Linebacker, Fred Warner, Drake Greenlaw, Oren Burks, D. Winters, Jalen Graham, and Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles. They cut Marcelino McCrary-Ball, Curtis Robinson, and Kiava Tizino. I wasn't surprised that both rookies made it. I guess I could say I was impressed that both rookies made it. Like, they balled out this preseason. I think they definitely earned a roster spot. I actually thought they were going to keep Marcelino McCrary-Ball over DFF, Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles, but they really like Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles, and they've said this for years. I don't know if there's any surprises here, any thoughts you guys have on this position group. Mike?
All right. I had who is it? What's his name? I had McCrary-Ball making it over Graham. That's the only difference I had here.
I'm not surprised by any of this. People sleep on Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles, but he's been here for a couple of years. He's got enough to take care of that third linebacker spot. Oren Burks has a PCL strain. I don't know how long that's going to keep him out. And I'm not sure if they brought any of these guys back on the practice squad. I don't have that right in front of me, but the fact that both rookies made it.
Bryant's on the roster right now.
Yeah, so they re-signed Austin Bryant and Kerry Hyder. One of those guys will get cut though once Nick Bosa reports. It'll probably be Austin Bryant.
Alex Barrett and Marlon Davidson are also on the practice squad, and so is T.Y. McGill. So those are the 3 guys from the defensive group that are there on the practice squad.
All right, moving on. Cornerback.
Sorry, real quick. I just wanted to say real quick to finish my thought.
Yeah, sorry.
The fact that both rookies made the roster, this team is really good at developing linebackers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really good at developing.
I thought one was going to get moved.
Continue.
Yeah, I thought one of them would be moved come roster cut down, but they didn't. And I think this is a good thing for the 49ers because they got to keep all of them. Remember a couple years back, they had Jonas Griffith, who was balling out preseason. They were able to turn him into a pick, trading him to Denver. I thought we were going to see something similar to that this preseason, but maybe no team came calling with a pick worthy enough, so they decided to just keep him. Frank Starback, Marcelino McCrary-Ball is with the Jets. Yep, I saw that they picked him up. Robert Saleh, I believe he was here when McCrary-Ball was here. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I got my years mixed up. All right, next position is the cornerback group. Charvarius Ward, Diamador Lenore, Isaiah Oliver, Sammy Womack, Ambry Thomas, AJ Parker was placed on injured reserve. Darrell Luter Jr. was moved to the reserve, physically unable to perform list, and will miss at least the first 4 weeks. They cut Deshaun Jameson, Quantrez Knight, Nate Brooks, and Trey Swilling. I was surprised Isaiah Oliver made it. I'm sure, I don't know, maybe you guys weren't, but he was kind of the requested signing by new defensive coordinator Steve Wilkes, but he did not look good this preseason, and he was playing into the final, minutes of the third preseason game. I thought that was telling. I thought Deshaun Jameson, he had really, really good feet, really good footwork. I thought he should have made it, but it's a tough group, and it's really, really top heavy. So we better hope Mooney Ward does not get injured. Matt, any thoughts?
Yeah, I wasn't surprised Oliver made it for specifically the reason that you brought up, is that he was a guy that Steve Wilkes wanted. So you're going to get a little bit more leeway if the defensive coordinator likes you. Shame about Deshaun Jameson. I thought that he had, a couple bright spots. But it shows that rather than being able to sneak him onto the practice squad, Arizona claimed him. Quantrez Knight is back on the practice squad. Everybody else, par for the course. It looks like Ward and Lenore are going to start on the outside. This group kind of scares me. It looks like the weakest cornerback group the 49ers have had in a couple years, to be honest.
That's fair. I think so nothing surprised me about this. I had the same group of cornerbacks, except I had Jameson and Oliver swapped. I did not have Oliver making it, but I did have Jameson making it. That's it.
Yeah. Same here, actually. That was my prediction. All right, moving on. Safety, Talanoa Hufanga, Tashawn Gibson, Jair Brown, George Odom, Taylor Hawkins was placed on IR, and they cut Miles Hartsfield.
No surprises from me.
Yeah. Oh, we're all in agreement.
Same
here.
four.
Surprises.
Yep. Same four for me.
Specialists, Jake Moody, Mitch Wisnowski, Tabor Pepper, Zane Gonzalez was placed on IR. That was a bit of a surprise to me, and I would love to know how they would have handled this if both kickers were healthy going into week 1. I think they were really faced with a dilemma here, and they were like, fuck, we were hoping either of these kickers would have separated themselves. Maybe they would have placed Moody on short-term IR, maybe not, but Zane Gonzalez got hurt as well before the final preseason game, and they were like, fuck it, you're gone, let's roll with Moody.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have
and actually, it must have been not a minor injury. The 49ers actually came to an injury settlement agreement with Zane Gonzalez. So it must have been something pretty bad. And they say calf, and that immediately makes me think, like, was there something wrong with his Achilles tendon? And this is a guy that's had problems with his legs already. So it's unfortunate Moody has the quad. I know that Kyle has said he's optimistic that he'll play week 1, but they did sign a guy who used to kick for Pittsburgh, who's familiar with Heinz Field or whatever it's named now. If Moody can't go, I think we'll find out in the next day or so what's going to happen with that spot. The other guys, I'm not super surprised.
Mike, before you share your thoughts, if you have any on the specialist, I just want to address this comment. Kurt Sampson's complaining about Manning, Jameson, Fisher is like rich people complaining about taxes. Trust me, you'd rather be making decisions about 13 players, no first-team players, not first-team players. I agree with this, but that's still to say we should still have thoughts on it if we felt like these players could be developed, because good teams develop players for the future. And if you're only focused on your stars and your first string players, then you're not going to be good for that long, because once those players are either aged out, signed elsewhere, then you're left with like, oh shit, I completely neglected everybody else on my team who could have been good in the future. So I agree. Somebody, I forget who posted it earlier on Twitter, was like, which player that the 49ers cut went on to get claimed to be a star elsewhere. And I can't really think of any, but that still doesn't mean that they could have been good here had the 49ers develop or put the time and development into these players. Maybe they could have turned into something. So that's my thoughts on that. Mike, I don't know if you have any thoughts on the specialists.
No, I actually only had 2 making it. Again, I wasn't just giving them out for roster politics. I didn't think either kicker deserved to make it, so I only had Wisnowski and Tabor Pepper. I swear to God, I'm not kidding you guys. I did not have a kicker on my final 53-man roster. I thought the Niners were going to IR both of those bums and go out and get someone, and they did that. They picked up a kicker that kicked for the Steelers in 19 and 20.
Stephen Wright, I think is his name.
Yeah, yes, it is Wright with a W, right? Stephen Wright, they did sign. Well, he's supposed to sign. Apparently, according to Matt Mayoko, he has not yet signed his deal, but he has been in camp or at practices kicking for the Niners. And he's supposed to be the week 1 kicker. I thought, hey, just IR Jake Moody, let him warm up, and then unveil him next year. That's honestly what I thought. I thought that they were going to do the injury settlement with Zane Gonzalez. I was not worried about either one of those kickers, and I thought they would just go out there and get someone else. But that's neither here nor there. I did only have 2 specialists making the roster. Jake Moody is still on the 53, just so people know. He is still actively on the 53. They have not put him on IR yet.
I think he's going to be fine, too, by the way. I think he's going to be fine.
Brunel, it is Matthew Wright. You're correct. It is Matthew Wright. And
Matthew, not Steven.
Yeah.
Right.
Kurt Sampson brought up DJ Reed is the one people bring up, and that is a correct answer. Other than DJ Reed, who was cut by the 49ers and went on to have a successful career elsewhere, I can't think of too many other players. All right, let's see. Is that it? Yep, that's it.
Man.
So overall thoughts on the 49ers roster. We gave you position by position as to what surprises, but overall, is the 49ers roster strong enough to truly compete for a title? Do you guys think yes or no?
I think yes, if they get Bosa in the building, they stay healthy. But they do not have the depth that they had in 2019 or 2021, 2022. I think that this team is thinner than it's been at key positions than before. Yeah. And that's a scary thing, given this team's injury history.
Yeah. The depth is really lacking. I agree with you there. Mike, do you have any thoughts?
I was surprised by the number of rookies that made this roster. Normally, when you have a team as good as they are, as deep as they are, and in Super Bowl windows, you might get 2 or 3 rookies out of an entire draft class to make the team. I thought the Niners invested a lot into their future. I think that this is one of those years where we're going to look back and say, yeah, like this guy was drafted, but he's here to be a 2-year replacement, not next year replacement or not this year replacement. So I was pleasantly surprised with that, for them, seeing them being willing to hold on to some of these guys. You know, a lot of people think, oh, we got Dre Greenlaw and all that stuff, but people forget that he only signed a 2-year deal. Right. And this is year 2 now. So this is kind of, you know, where we are. Is Winters the replacement for Dre Greenlaw and things like that. This is where we are with roster evaluation and going forward and maintaining a solid roster. Right. This is why we said don't give us a bunch of 1st-round picks for Nick Bosa. Give us some later round picks so we can get that depth, get the those guys in the building, train them up in the way they should go, and then unveil them on the league in the future. I like the roster overall. I think the team is stacked. I think we're good enough to make a deep push into the postseason, but we got to get Nick Bosa in here. We have to know that Brock Purdy is a guy that cannot be a sophomore slump, and I think that's probably the biggest challenge ahead. It's making sure that there's no sophomore slump for Brock Purdy. Even more, I hate to say this, right, because I don't think he's better or more important than Nick Bosa, but I think in the long-term success of this team, there cannot be a sophomore slump for Brock Purdy. So we have to make sure that this is the move for the future. And we'll see how it goes. We're going to be here to analyze it all every step of the way.
Yeah, that's perfectly said. And this is going to sound like a broken record, but the success of the San Francisco 49ers in 2023 and 2024 is largely dependent on the quarterback. Stop me if you've heard that before. This is groundbreaking commentary. I know, but it's so dependent because of the injuries that they've had. If Brock Purdy is able to stay healthy and play an entire season and look even close to what he looked like last year, the 49ers are going places. If he takes a step back, if he misses the majority of the season, I don't know. I'm not that confident in Sam Darnold. But guys, I want to propose a toast. I don't know if either of you gentlemen have a drink or anything left to drink. Yes. Okay. I'll take it. I want to propose a toast to both of you because this has been a very long off season, and I cannot tell you how much I appreciate both of you. Mike, you really do not have to come on our show, but you make the time to do it. And Matt and I cannot tell you how much we really do appreciate you doing that, especially since you're on the East Coast. It's late as hell over there, and you still make the time. Thank you very much. It's much appreciated. We love having you on. We love bouncing ideas off of you. And to the viewers, thank you for rocking with us and sticking with us this long off season. I'm going to be honest. We don't produce as much of the clickbaity, content that a lot of people in the 49ers community do. Not to call anybody out. If that's your hustle, go for it. I respect it. I would like to say, maybe I'm giving myself too much credit, that we produce genuine content where we really feel like we believe in what we're saying. We're not trying to get hot takes out there for views. We genuinely believe in what we're saying. And again, I said it earlier, if I'm wrong, please come and tell me why I'm wrong. So thank you to the viewer who have stuck with us for this, 8-month period or however long it's been. I appreciate each and every one of you. I appreciate each and every one of you guys who have hit the like and subscribe button and really rocked with us this year. We got more content coming for you guys. Please hit like, please hit subscribe. We got a fantastic season ahead of us. You're not going to want to miss anything. So thank you, everybody.
100%. Totally agree with you. I love the fact, and Zach, thank you for being such a great host. Sometimes you're a little soft spoken, but you direct the traffic and get us going where we need to. And, I think that we do have a group that will come and say what we believe in without trying to pander to any narrative or anything like that. So I'm proud that we could do that. And I want to thank everybody for coming here and just, we're open-minded. If you can change our mind, fantastic. But we're hoping that we can bring something for you too. So cheers, fellas.
Cheers.
Y'all.
To a great
now,
year.
while you guys are swallowing, will there be another show before next Sunday?
Pause.
Why you got to say it like that?
Sorry. I know that sounded bad. I finished mine a little faster than you guys. I'm sorry. Will there be another show before next Sunday?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
There will be. All right.
Yes.
So whatever the next show is, if I'm invited, will be the last simulcasted show. All right. If you guys want to see this continue on, you have to subscribe to the 49ers Hive channel, because I'm not going to stop coming on. I've been a part of a lot of different shows. I've gone on as guests on other people's, just getting started, people who are established and they want, the Nothing But Niners exposure and things like that, right? Like, I have done a lot of different shows in the 49ers community. I've done a lot of different shows for other teams and all that. They've come and reached out to me, and I've done their guest spots and all that. And there is not a ringmaster I would rather be a clown for more than Zach. Like, let me come in here. You go ahead and you run the circus and just let me be a part of it. And I cannot emphasize how much I enjoy being a part of this circus right here. So I sincerely mean it. I am not stopping unless they don't want me on anymore. I will continue to do this all year long. You guys let me know when it's happening. And if I'm available, I am here. So make sure you guys subscribe right here to 49ers Hive. We're going to continue to have a good time all season long, and you aren't going to want to miss it. That's all I got.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it.
It's been a great couple months having you on. So thank you very much. And again, thank you everybody for tuning in. Hit like, hit subscribe. With that all said, Matt, carry us out.
Oh, we're not doing a chat back today.
Oh, thank you very much. Let's do a chat back.
Carry us out before we get to the important stuff.
Let me pick one.
Come on now.
All right. While I find one, you two discuss something.
Well, no, it's fine. I did want to say this though, really quick, right? When you guys step back and look at this off season that we had here, and it's not that I want to point blame to anybody, but does this feel more like a front office issue, or does it feel more like a coaching staff issue with what's been going on with the Niners this year?
I feel like it's a cracks in the foundation issue. I think that there is a disconnect between what John Lynch is doing and what Kyle Shanahan is doing. And I think it's starting to show. And I think that if anything, if something goes sideways, I think that we could see John Lynch being moved out of here and Adam Peters promoted to continue on with the Kyle Shanahan regime. I just think that the growth has kind of stopped between the two, and there's actually some friction there. It was reported a couple years ago that they had friction. I know that Grant was saying that. Some other people were saying that maybe there was some friction, but now I think there's actually some friction between the two. And I think that based on the press conference that happened after the Lance trade, I think they both got called into the principal's office by Jed York, and Jed York put his foot down and was like, hey, you guys need to figure this shit out. So the seat is not hot, but there's definitely some heat between the two. I think John and Kyle. So That's kind of where I'm standing on it.
I like that. Now, to change it up for you, Zach, I don't know how you think or feel about this, but has John Lynch done enough with the roster and the talent in the building to prove his value over the systems instilled by Kyle Shanahan? Like, if this was a, hey, Jed York, choose between the two, does John Lynch even stand a chance against a guy like Kyle Shanahan?
Absolutely not. And I think he didn't stand it. He's never stood a chance, if we're being honest. Kyle Shanahan picked John Lynch. So I think the dynamic has always been John Lynch is under Kyle and answers to Kyle. But while he's built a really, really good roster in terms of the veterans that are on this team, if we look back at the past 2 or 3 drafts, and I know you can't really evaluate a draft class fairly until like 3 to 4 years pass, but still, if we look at the draft classes from the past 2 to 3 years, aside from 1 or 2 picks, and I guess the real question is Brock Purdy, hitting on Brock Purdy, outweigh missing on all of the other picks that they missed on? And that's a genuine question and a genuine debate, because a quarterback is the most important position in football. But I think that if it comes down to Kyle versus John, it's always been and it always will be, see ya, John. I mean, they have John's replacement in-house, and Matt alluded to this earlier. Adam Peters is there. There's no replacement for Kyle Shanahan in-house. So I think if it comes down to both of them, they say, see ya, John.
Everything you said is true, but I just want to remind you guys that the last time it was a conflict between GM and head coach, Jed York decided, hey, I'm going to stick with Trent Baalke 1 more year and let the head coach and Jim Harbaugh go. Just to be very, very clear.
So we all saw how that turned out. So maybe it'll be the other way this time around.
Yeah. All right. I have a chat pack question. Let's ask it. Let me change the banner. If you could go back in time and ask any famous person in history one question, whom would you question and what would you ask? Assume that you would be given a completely honest answer. And please, everybody in the chat, type your answers as well. And listen to Debbie, hit like, hit subscribe. 129 people watching and only 60 likes. The math does not math for me. We should have 129 likes. Hit like, hit subscribe. Again, if you could go back in time and ask any famous person in history one question, whom would you question and what would you ask? And assume that you would be given an honest answer. This is a tough one.
I thought I had an answer, and I quickly went to Google to see who invented indoor plumbing. I wanted to know if there was one name responsible for indoor plumbing, because to this day, I don't know, right? And Google just says ancient Rome. So there's no person that I can ask about that, because my question would be, hey, can I patent this for you? Right? Like, that would have been my question. Like, there's something that happens in every single livable space in this country and other countries that is required by law that some family is not getting paid for. Like, just the idea of indoor plumbing, right? So I'm thinking, like, this should be probably the most wealthy family that exists, but it's not. But because that doesn't exist, I would probably want to go back in time. Oh, this is going to sound super fucking racist. Oh God. I'm going to say it anyway, right? But I would want to talk to some of, like, the early civil rights leaders and present them with what's going on today in the minority communities and say, is this what you wanted? Like, looking at today and just how things are going. I know this sounds super fucked up, right? But I would want to ask them, like, is this the dream that you had for our people, right? Is this how you would want to see, or if you could change something about today versus when you were there, how would it be? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I would want to ask them, like, what's the end game? Because so often in life, we think about our time frames and our mortality rates. We don't think generations ahead. And so what's the end game? Don't tell me that you see or you have this vision of young black girls and white girls walking down the streets holding hands and being friends. What does that mean in the grand scheme of things? Where is the line of what you want to see? So I would probably ask something like that to a civil rights leader. Like, give me the end game.
Okay, I like it. I got one. I'll go next. I would transport myself back to November of 1963.
Of course you would.
And I would ask the FBI and the CIA, who the fuck shot John F. Kennedy? Because I am not believing that it was Lee Harvey Oswald. And then I'm not believing that that bar owner went and shot Lee Harvey Oswald while he was in custody a day or two later. So who the hell shot JFK and why did they shoot JFK? I would love to know that, because I think it's very clear that we weren't given the full story, the full history there. So
didn't they prove that he was shot twice, even though they said it was just one shot?
Yeah. There's a mystery bullet. It doesn't add up with the official narrative. It does not. Yeah. Ian
right.
Sharp
So
was
like
the mafia.
The official bullet was the one in the head.
Yeah.
And then they show his wife, like, I hate to be graphic.
Well, he
like,
got hit twice. He did get hit twice. You can see
he got
it
hit in the
film.
neck the first time.
The first time, yeah. So he got hit. I think it was like almost shoulder area. The bullet passed through him and then hit his chief of staff or something, and it lodged in his wrist. And then the second one was the one. But there was a bullet underneath an overpass that was like, they didn't know where it came from because people only heard the two shots. And then it was like a third bullet. So I don't know.
All right. That's my question.
I would go back, man. I had to think about this for a little bit, but I'm very, very interested in this. I would go back to roughly 2700 BC and ask the Grand Vizier, Imhotep of the Egyptian ruler, Zoser, as it's pronounced, who the fuck built the pyramids? Because that whole thing, I mean, they align with star charts. Yep. They're all in like a they're all mathematically perfectly arranged. And then just the concept of building that type of structure with the technology of the age doesn't add up to me. If there was ever something where I'm just like, I don't know, maybe aliens, bro. But I want to see how those things were built, because they had to drag that stone for miles and miles and miles. And then they had to I don't know. It don't make sense to me. The pyramids make zero sense to me.
The one thing I don't like about the mysteries of the pyramids, right, is look at where the sand came from and look at where it is now. That's the one thing I don't like, because of all the storms and everything that has come throughout the decades, centuries, and millenniums. That sand is not going to be in the original place anymore. That sand is
no, and there's evidence. There's evidence that the Sphinx was on a body of water because there's water damage to the bottom of the Sphinx. No, but I'm saying the sheer amount that they needed it had to have come from a quarry. Yeah, that's just like just the sheer amount of stone that they used. You're not just finding that out in whatever, just like in your backyard. You're not finding all that, so they had to get it from somewhere, which means it had to be transported. And whether you transported it 10 feet or 10 miles. The fact that the size of the stones and the weight of the stones and how they lined up and how they had to stack them like that doesn't make any sense for, there's no tools, power tools, anything like that. I don't know, man. It's wild.
Not only that, but there's evidence that the Sphinx's head was later carved into it due to the size. Like, it's not proportional to the rest of the body. And there's a reason to believe that the original face of the Sphinx was something else, and that Egyptians then carved in the face that we now see, because it's definitely not proportional to the rest of the body. So that's a great question. That is a really, really great question. So, all right, that's going to do it though for this episode. And guys, every episode we end it with a chat pack. This is kind of a new tradition that we started, but we appreciate it. Let's just show a little bit of our personality, get a little fun, something different than football that we're always talking about. But now that we got that out, Matt, carry us out.
Absolutely. First things first, 49ers team, John, Kyle, Parag, whoever, pay Nick Bosa. Okay? Get him in the building for week 1. Now that that's out of the way, This is the last Sunday without NFL football until February, fellas. We have finally made it back to the promised land. The season kicks off proper on Thursday. I believe it's Detroit and Kansas City, I believe, right?
Yep.
It's the opener.
Yep.
But the 49ers, my wife's a Dolphins fan. It was funny. I was telling her, I was like, this is the first time in I can't remember how long the 49ers play the early game and the Dolphins play the late game. But the 49ers are going to be bright and early, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. So make sure that you've got your popcorn ready. It's going to be a very interesting season. Mike, thank you so much again for joining us. We appreciate you every time you're here. We're going to have you back for at least the game preview. And that'll be the last show before the game that we do. I don't know. Might try to get one more in before that, but it'll depend on schedules. Zach, thank you as always. Appreciate you. Thank you, everybody, for everyone who tuned in, for all the people that came over and watched on Nothing But Niners. Please like, subscribe, come on over here. You're more than welcome. With that being said, football's back, baby. So next Sunday, let's get on board. And until next time, go Niners.